love me. XOXO.
Mike's Mike. Not the boys. Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to Mike's Mike. The tabloids are printing that my name is Mike, and welcome to season 2 of my Gossip Girl recap. Thank you for getting around my season 1 recap, and I hope you're ready for 90 minutes of recapping 25 unhinged episodes. We've got Hamptons, we've got Royalty, we've got Zara. I'm not just a little girl anymore. I've just been editing and making the tabloid covers for each episode, and let me just say, you are in for a treat. And yes, this is my editing outfit. I edit in a Dior turtleneck and an anti-fragile hat. What about it? Apologies for the slight delay in posting season 2. There's a lot going on in the MMCU right now. But I mean, that being said, it's not like I was on stage introducing Rina Sawayama's Melbourne show. And then we filmed TikToks and she signed my vinyls. To Mike, slayed so hard it lost all meaning. Like, I know you're sitting there mad and jealous. Anyway, I'll save that discussion for the podcast. You know the rules. If you haven't watched my season 1 recap, go and watch that first. Like this video, leave me a comment, and turn that ad blocker off. Thank you. Oh, and of course, subscribe if you wanted to. Only if you wanted to. No pressure. Now, for season 2, we had absolutely excellent posters. We had the standard 6-8 month-ish gap between seasons, so they needed something good to hook their audience from season 1, while also getting potential newer viewers interested. They took season 1 reviews and used them as promo. I think these are absolute genius. A nasty piece of work. New York Times, with a still of Blair and Nate kissing in the pool from episode 12. Every parent's nightmare. Boston Herald. Mind-blowingly inappropriate. Parents Television Council. I mean, it's genius. Get people mad, and it makes teenagers want to watch to piss off their parents. This last one is actually from season 2, which is why we don't know who that lady is. Also, the people saying that Gossip Girl was a nasty piece of work and mind-blowingly inappropriate would have an absolute meltdown watching 10 seconds of a Euphoria episode. In terms of season 2 phones, we have Serena using a red Samsung flip shot, Blair's using an LG Envy 2, and interestingly, Vanessa's using an LG Envy, which is the phone that Blair had in season 1. Eric's using an LG Chocolate 2, Dan's using an LG Chocolate 3, Chuck's using an LG Dare, and Nate's using a Motorola Rival. Lily's bossed up to a BlackBerry Curve 8330, and Jenny's using a HTC Touch. What's going on? I think I'm a rock star now, guys. Sad. You can't do this. I want to go to fashion school. I'm not your little girl anymore. It's now time for us to discuss season 2. I have harnessed the power of Jenny for this look. I think I actually kind of look a bit like Rufus as well. Episode 1 of season 2 is so camp. It's time for the vitamin water party. Gossip Girl season 2 onwards had some kind of deal with vitamin water where they shove vitamin water product placement into every possible frame, and I will be pointing them out. So the episode starts with the squad in the Hamptons. Nate is making out with Alice Cooper from Riverdale. Turns out Nate has been fake dating Serena during the summer to cover the fact that he's been having an affair with a married woman, Catherine. Serena's been doing nothing all summer. No dates, no vibes, which is so me. Blair arrives in the Hamptons via bus or jitney, which is so shocking and scary to me. I'm sorry, Blair Waldorf does not take the bus. Ever. Chuck goes to the bus stop to wait for Blair, and Serena says to him, Blair's not going to forgive you for what you did. Remember the tarmac situation where he never showed up, and as a result, Blair wrote her debut single Trauma on the tarmac? Anyway, Blair gets off the jitney with a new man, James, who she met overseas. See, Blair's trying to make Chuck jealous. A good example of this is when the three of them are at dinner, and Chuck sees a heart pendant on James's sleeve. Remember how Blair stitched that heart pendant into Nate's jumper? So Chuck sees it, and he's like, oh, FML. But it turns out, Blair secretly put it there just to make Chuck jealous and didn't even tell James. In fact, Blair tells Serena that she doesn't even like James. Jenny has been interning at Eleanor Waldorf Designs. I want to go work at Eleanor Waldorf Designs. And she has been fighting for her life. This lady, who's like Eleanor's second in charge and was nice to Jenny in season 1, is suddenly a very nasty girl. She had a bad hateritis flare up between season 1 and 2. But hey, the recession was hard on everyone, I guess. So Jenny's like, hey lady, I made this dress for you for the vitamin water party. I'm not wearing that shit. Dan isn't in the Hamptons. He's been interning with some annoying writer to get a letter of recommendation. And he's basically been kissing a different girl every 5 seconds to try and get over Serena. But let me tell you, it's not working. Also, one of the girls that he kisses is Jackie from Pretty Little Liars. So in order to get this letter of recommendation, he's supposed to write a story and he hasn't. So the author drops him, blah, whatever, boring. Time for the white party in the Hamptons. Now, I love ridiculous product placement, and this is the perfect example. Why are these high society types drinking vitamin water with cocktail shakers and martini glasses? sponsors? Why does the party have a sponsor, first of all? Second, why isn't the sponsor like champagne or Bacardi or something? Jenny has managed to secure an invite to the party through Eric. Dan goes to the Hamptons looking for Serena and he runs into evil high society grandma Cece. But Cece's not evil anymore and she helps Dan get into the party to talk to Serena because she knows that Serena isn't over him. It's almost like there was a transfer of evil between Cece and Eleanor's second in charge. At the vitamin water party, Jenny's at the vitamin water bar having a rescue vitamin water and the second in charge, Laurel, sees her and she's like, ew, how did you get in here, poor? Alert, alert, there are impoverished folks at the vitamin water white party. And then Eric turns up with Lily's gal pal Tinsley Mortimer from the Real Housewives of New York, and Tinsley is apparently a Jenny stan and wants to talk to Jenny about the dress she made. Tinsley is introduced as Lily's friend, so in my head, Lily is on Real Housewives of New York. I'm trying to think what Lily's like intro thing would be. Don't ask me where my kids are. And that's it. So Nate is in attendance at the white party with Serena because he wants to make Catherine jealous. They walk past a pillar of vitamin water while Paparazzi by Lady Gaga plays. The vitamin water pillar at the vitamin water white party starring Tinsley Mortimer. I need a vitamin water pillar so bad, I'd put it here. You never know when the vitamin water cravings are going to strike. Like, Serena knows that Nate is trying to make Alice Cooper from Riverdale jealous. So she kisses him when Catherine's looking. And you know who else sees it? Dan Humphrey, because of course he does. Out of the hundreds of thousands of seconds to turn up at the vitamin water white party, of course it's the 1 second when Serena's kissing Nate. This bloody show, I swear to God. Serena sees that Dan's there, pulls him aside, tries to explain it. Dan's like, rah, 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 rah. But then two girls, including Jackie from Pretty Little Liars, show up and throw their drinks on him for playing them at the same time during his author internship era. We love that they showed up at that second. We love convenient timing, you guys. We love it. Now that I'm looking, I'm kind of giving Lady Gaga Judas / You and I / Marry the Night, but then I'm also giving Adam Lambert Marry the Night. Anyway, Serena and Dan have a big chat and they realize that they're not over each other. When will I know peace? Nate's plan to make Catherine jealous works and she pulls him aside for a hookup at the vitamin water white party. Blair's at the party with James. Remember, she's trying to make Chuck jealous. James catches on and says to Blair, do you even like me? And Blair says to his face, no, you're kind of boring. Again, she's just being real. And since when was that a crime? Later on, when Blair goes up to James to apologize to him, James says, oh, by the way, I'm actually lying. My name is Marcus Beaton and I'm actually a British lord. Blair is like flabbergasted by the accent change. The way this man weaponized his Britishness, he says that he lied about it because he didn't want people to use him for his name and his status. And he says that he liked how honest Blair was when she said that he was boring. So now Blair's like, hold on. Maybe we can workshop this. Let's circle back at the next team meeting and we can assess. At the end of the episode, Chuck goes up to Blair and he says, I'm sorry, I messed up. I shouldn't have stood you up on the tarmac. Don't leave with Marcus. Blair says, give me a reason to stay. 3 words, 8 letters, say it and I'm yours. He can't do it. He can't say it. The 3 words, 8 letters was obviously you are slay. In episode 2, Lord Marcus says that Tom Hanks gave him a Kleenex at Lady Di's funeral and Blair refers to Chuck as a basshole. Blair is obsessed with the idea of becoming royalty, so she's trying to secure the bag and she's trying to accelerate the process of meeting Marcus's parents, the Duke and the Duchess. But Marcus is kind of stagnant and stalling. But plot twist, turns out Nate's sneaky link Catherine is actually Marcus's stepmother, Duchess Catherine Beaton. In other news, Dan and Serena had sex on the beach after the vitamin water white party and I'm a little bit sick of them. These two don't really know what their vibe is, so they agree to take some time and just reconvene when they get back to the city. The next day, Serena decides to take the jitney because she figured that Dan will probably take the train. But well, Dan is taking the bus. We then get this beyond bizarre scene of Serena sexually eating chocolate strawberries on the bus. I get that this is supposed to be sexual or something, but it just made me mad. Like, it just looks so messy. Dan's getting H-word watching Serena eat the strawberries, so then they go have sex in the toilet on the bus. Ew, that's so foul. Not only are bus toilets very small and not at all private, they also stink. Now back to Nate. He's checked back into the trenches. He basically has a penthouse suite in the Trenches Hotel at this point. Nate's mum, Anne, says that the federal prosecutor wants to take all their assets as restitution for Howard fleeing to Dominica. And she also says that her dad, William Vanderbilt, is pissed off that she helped Howard escape, so he's cut her off from the family funds. Cue weird green screen. Everyone's now back in the city from the Hamptons. Casa Vanderwoods and Bass has been renovated, so they're no longer living in a hotel, and Serena's Sweet Life of Zack and Cody era is over. Rufus is back from his little summer tour. Rufus's art gallery now randomly has a cafe attached to it, and Vanessa works there. Chuck sells Victrola, that burlesque bar that he bought, and Nate thinks that Chuck sold it to impress Blair with his business moves, but actually he did it to liquidate some assets to give money to Anne, who asked for help. Nate gets really mad at Chuck for wiring the money to Anne without telling him. Also, Nate wants to link back up with Vanessa and chat shit. Remember, they kind of ended things at the end of season 1. Blair throws throws a sham high society party in the hopes of impressing Marcus. Uninvited Chuck turns up with Duchess Catherine to start shit. And shit does start because Blair doesn't know that Chuck's date is Marcus's stepmother. And she says some shit and Catherine goes goblin mode and tells Blair that she's too lowly to date Marcus. And it all further goes to shit when Nate turns up and Serena tries to cover what happened between Nate and Catherine by saying that they had book club together. What's this? Chuck's date and Blair's date are mother and son, and Nate and Blair are exes, and Nate and the mother are in a book club? Now there's a novel plot twist. Later on, Catherine texts Nate to meet her in the library, and Nate's feeling a little bit off about everything, and she's like, no, I need my boy toy. Also, you love this arrangement. What else is going on? So Nate tells Catherine about the Archibald Poor era, and Catherine basically proposes to pay Nate for sex. Blair's walking around trying to find Catherine to apologize, and she finds Catherine and Nate having sex on the floor in the library, which is great for Blair because now she doesn't have to apologize. She's got ammunition for blackmail. Also, the whole Nate and Vanessa thing. Nate wants to spend time with Vanessa. They organize to have a date. He doesn't show up because of all the Catherine bullshit. He calls her like, sorry I didn't make it to the date. And Vanessa's like, oh no, it's fine. No big deal. And we can see that she had decorated the cafe for a date and she bought food and everything. It's a bad day for the Vanessa stans. If only there were any. In episode 3, Vanessa and Nate go on a little walking date and Vanessa wants to make more plans. But Nate can't really commit to anything because his broke era is coinciding with his Duchess era. Also, there's a scene later when they're having coffee in the art gallery and you can see a hashtag vitamin water fridge in the back. Dan and Serena are anxious about re-debuting their relationship, but a girlie sees them kissing on the street, paps it, sends it to Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl blasts it. No one gives a shit. Nobody moved, except for these 3 iconic girlies who intercept them in a park. They apparently keep up to date with everything through Gossip Girl. 2 of them hate Serena and say they're on Dan's side, and the third, she's a Serena. As we know, Little J, Jenny Humphrey, has been working in Eleanor Waldorf's atelier, but Eleanor herself has actually been away in Paris on business, and Little J, she's getting a little bit too confident. She's saying how one particular dress looks like it's trying too hard, and then boom, Eleanor appears just in time to hear Jenny say that and she fires her. And then boom, the power goes out. Dan and Serena get stuck in an elevator and there's this random velocity edit of the power going out. Dan calls the elevator company using that special phone thing and they're like, yeah, I'm walking here. It's a citywide blackout. You're gonna have to wait your turn. Turn? Serena's like, see, you should have told them that you're with Serena Vanderwoodson. Dan gets all pissy. He's like, and what? They treat us different just because you are you. So he calls back and says he's with Serena. And the guy's like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll send someone straight away. Dan is so annoying. Like, sorry, why are you getting mad at Serena? She's famous. Deal with it. And shut the fuck up. The 2 of them talk things through, but they realize they can't get past that different worlds problem. So they break up again. Meanwhile, Jenny's situation sounds like a Lana Del Rey album title. Trapped at the atelier during a blackout after being fired for talking shit. Eleanor's like, we gotta stay here during this blackout, but you may as well hold this torch while I go over these designs. Also, you're still fired, but what are your opinions on this? And Jenny says that the design looks like a pilgrim at a funeral. She just says anything. Eleanor's looking at it and she's like, wait, that's kind of true, like pilgrim core. And then she spirals a bit, saying how she feels uncool and she's fallen out of the fashion inner circle. So Jenny's like, even though you just fired me, you still got cool designs, boss lady. In fact, my first couture dress was designed by you, and you also inspired me to want to become a designer. And then Cerulean quickly showed up in the collections of 8 different designers. And then Eleanor unfires Jenny. Vanessa catches Nate and the Duchess together, and she's like, what the fuck? But then Nate explains everything. But then Catherine corners Vanessa and threatens to tell the FBI where Nate's dad is hiding if he ever leaves her for Vanessa. Mess. Episode 4. Wakey Upper East Siders. Welcome to the first day of senior year and the onset of a new social dynasty. The big question is, with Serena single and on top of the world, will Constance become the House of Vanderwoodson? Also, I wrote in my notes that from the start of season 2, it kind of feels like the writers have decided who they want Gossip Girl to be. But then at the end of the season, they do stuff that goes against that. So, who knows? Lily is back from vacation with Bart, thank God. Nelly Yuki slayed these glasses. There's a scene of Blair going through files of prospective minions, and Chuck gives Blair the file of a last-minute transfer with Courtney Conwell class of 2012 on it. And I was like, who's that? So I looked it up, and Courtney Conwell was the executive assistant to Gossip Girl showrunner Stephanie Savage. So that's a fun Easter egg. In the context of the show, the file actually refers to a girl named Amanda. Now, what the fuck is Vanessa wearing here? Be serious. Glee Club. Dan meets Amanda and they immediately hit it off, which makes things awkward between him and Serena. And Serena's like, how the fuck is he moving on faster than me and I'm rich and hot? Chuck sends a tip about Dan and Amanda to Gossip Girl, and Blair responds to the e-blast by confronting Amanda and telling her to back off Dan. It's part of the girl code, like if you want to be in the minion squad, you don't date one of the exes. See, Blair's gonna ride or die for her sister Serena. Serena, however, feels queasy about this whole confrontation situation, and she's like, no, we shouldn't be doing this. Also, the minions having these 1, 2, 3, 4 necklaces is so Scream Queen's Chanel's. There was a Chanel number 4, but she got meningitis. She was like, I'm sick, I have to go home. And I was like, no, stay. But she went home anyway, and then she died. Lily's back on her bullshit, trying to make up excuses to go visit Rufus. And Rufus is like, no, lady, you made your decision. You're married to billionaire Bart Bass. Catherine gives Vanessa money for not telling Nate about the threats. And when Vanessa goes to return the money, she sees Catherine hooking up with her stepson Marcus. She sneaks a peek and tells Dan about it. She's like, what do I do? He's like, oh, you got to go to the chief schemer herself, Blair. So she does. Blair looks really upset about it, but she's like, don't worry, I'll handle it. When Vanessa sees Blair at brunch with Marcus, she's like, ugh, she's not doing anything, and goes to show the Duke the evidence. Blair was actually just buttering up Marcus while Catherine was arriving, and she'd even organized to blackmail them into paying for Nate's dad's restitution in exchange for silence. But oopsies, Vanessa fucked it, deals off. And to make things worse for V, Nate's upset with her for telling Dan and Blair and not him what was going on. I do think he kind of goes too hard on her though. Like, she was just trying to look out for you and your triple F, your flop felon father, and a literal duchess was threatening her. The Serena, Dan, Amanda situation escalates. There's a Nartini and some fighting. Basically, it comes out that Chuck hired Amanda to make Serena jealous so that she'd go back to her scheming ways and eventually topple Blair as the HBIC at Constance. And it didn't take long for her to do so, literally 1 episode. Welcome back, Cream Serena. Consider us Cream Serena. Welcome back, Cream Serena. What? How did that even happen? Welcome back, Cream Serena. Consider us your humble servants. Because if looks could kill, we wouldn't want to be Dan Humphrey. Yeah, that's so good. That's excellent. Guys, do you like my Genshin vision? You're so jealous that I have a Hydro Vision and you don't. Which one do you have? None? Probably. These lights are fucking with me. I'm going to turn them off. In episode 5, the BNS war is starting to truly bubble up. Bubble up. Bubble up. It's not really a war yet. It's more Serena regaining power, Blair losing power and being like, what the fuck? I don't like this. Fashion Week. The time of year when any Park Ave princess would trade her last Prada pochette for front row seats to the best shows. And we hear the seating chart for Eleanor Waldorf's show is being made by our very own B. So yeah, basically, Blair takes seating chart duties, and it's tradition that B and S watch the show from backstage, and Blair has put the minions in the front row to secure their loyalty in the impending B&S war. It's just wartime tactics, like it's happened all throughout history. Invite the girls to the front row, put them in the army. Like, little J has been skipping school to go work at the atelier, and she's become Eleanor's protege. And it's absolute scenes that Eleanor Waldorf designs right now. Eleanor and her 2IC are stressing because Eleanor's show is on at the same time as Marc Jacobs, and all the It girls are going to the Marc Jacobs show. So Jenny suggests, why don't you put Serena and her new high society BFF Poppy Lifton in the front row? Now, Poppy Lifton sounds a little bit too close to Paris Hilton and or London Tipton, but let me mind my business. Poppy's a socialite that Serena met at a function, and now they're besties. When Blair finds out about this seating arrangement, she's fucking fuming at Serena and Jenny. She instantly goes into revenge scheming mode. She lands Jenny in the shit by hinting to Rufus that Jenny has been skipping school to go work at the atelier. Blair loves to snitch on Jenny to Rufus. She loves that tactic. Also, Gossip Girl makes a Project Runway reference. She says, 1 minute you're in and the next you're out. Okay, Tim Gunn, that show was my shit. Oh my god, so good. Not even for dinner with the Kushners. Serena's initially like, oh no, this seating situation is going to upset Blair. We can't do it. But then Poppy's like, we'll just invite Blair to some cool after party and all will be forgiven and all be fine. It was not fine. Blair and Serena have an argument, and Serena turns up to the show to discover that Blair has seated her in the back row. Also, there's vitamin water backstage and vitamin water in the gift bags while Poker Face is playing. Yes! Jenny and Eleanor end up fixing the Serena seating problem, but Blair is still on a warpath. She finds out that Jenny's job is to get the models to the runway, so she comes up with this plan to send the models home. Oh my god, disaster. Jenny is fighting for her life on several fronts right now. While this Blair shit has been going down, Rufus has been blowing up Jenny's phone and meeting with the headmistress of Constance. Also, sorry, what? Jenny's real name is Jennifer? Jenny comes up with the last minute solution to solve the models issue. She's like, let's get Serena, Poppy, and all these other influencer girlies to walk the runway in the designs, and it turns into this huge PR win. I will say, seeing these socialites walk the runway, it was very reminiscent of Marcus Butler and Jim Chapman walking for Dolce & Gabbana. In terms of walking the runway, initially Serena's like, no, I don't want to do it. It'll upset Blair. But Poppy's in her ear like, don't dim your shine, girl. Don't dim your sheen. Blair is suspiciously chill about Serena walking the runway, and she even gives her the finale dress. She's like, here, babe, take the spotlight, wear this dress. Turns out that dress is actually Jenny's after party dress, not one of Eleanor's designs, and Blair knew that. Eleanor sees Serena walk out in the dress and she's fucking fuming at Jenny, but then everyone eats the dress up and Eleanor's like, wait, actually, maybe that is one of my dresses. Jenny's about to retaliate, but then she realizes that the reason why Blair is acting out is because Serena's taken the spotlight off her again. So those two are civil, but the B&S war, it is ramping up. It's like that stupid Glee episode. Are you a Katie or a Gaga? Are you a Blair or a Serena? Obviously, I'm a Blair. Let's be serious. Rufus is trying to get into the fashion show because Jenny won't answer her HTC Touch. But when security tells Jenny that her dad's outside, she's like, my dad's out of town. After the show, Jenny tells Rufus, you can't make me quit my job. I hate school. I'm quitting school instead. Rufus is like, absolutely not. And Jenny's like, absolutely yes. Dad, I'm not your little girl anymore. That was a little bit insane. I think I need to sleep. Meanwhile, this rat, Dan Humphrey, still needs his letter of recommendation for Yale. So he meets with an author who reads his stories and says, you're so fucking boring. Your stories are all shit and sound the same. You got to do something different. That was totally a quote from the show and not my personal opinion. So Dan starts hanging out with Chuck to try and get some more life experience. And it's a really strange dynamic. Initially, Chuck essentially hazes Dan and Dan writes about the debauchery they get up to. But then that author guy reads the stories and he's like, nah, get the tea on this Chuck character. He sounds interesting. So Dan spends more time with Chuck. They go to jail for a bit, the usual. And Dan finds out that Chuck has bad daddy issues because Bart blames Chuck for Chuck's mother dying during childbirth. Okay, you're all getting a lasagna. That's actually a little bit of a plot hole because at the start of season 1, there's a scene of Chuck stealing his mother's medication. So it's like, are you stealing 17-year-old medication? Anyway, Chuck finds out that Dan is using him to write some shitty story and gets super pissed off at him. But Dan decides to not use the intel and backs out of the letter of recommendation. That's so classic Dan Humphrey. Not necessarily a bad person, does good things, still really annoying. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Lily discovers that Bart has been keeping a dossier on her, and when she confronts him about it, he's like, well, I'm a big deal, and I gotta make sure that no one's gonna use your past against me. What would be in the Mike's Mike dossier? The 2011 Italian tour, the exploding cauliflower soup, Pretty Little Lies red carpet meeting Lucy Hale, like these are all key events. Serena tries to be friendly with Blair, but when Blair gives her nothing but sass and insults, S puts into action her next move in the BS war, which is to drop her college plans to go to Brown and instead pursue Yale, which is Blair's dream school. The dean of Yale has sent S an invite to some special party, and they mainly want her to go to Yale because she's an it girl and it would be good press for the school. Blair is so fucking wound up. She even has a dream that she's poor. It's the end times. When they're at Yale doing interviews with the dean, Serena puts her charm on, put your sneakers on, Hanadul ready, get set, go. That song, I really did not like that song when it came out, but something sick and twisted is going on in my brain and now I like it. What? Sneakers on. Hanadul ready, get set, go. Maybe it was because the song came out in winter and I wasn't putting my sneakers on Hanadul ready, set, go. But now that it's summer, I will, and I am. So Serena makes a great impression and Blair has an impressive resume and great grades. But when the dean asks her, tell me something that's not in this file, Blair freezes. I have opinions on that. Should I share them? I hate that shit. And they tell you to focus on your grades, so you focus on your grades, and you turn up and they're like, oh, tell me something that's unrelated to your grades. So Blair kind of flops in the interview, and when the dean doesn't invite her to that private function, she starts spiraling and losing it, and then when she's leaving the room, instead of shaking the dean's hand, she like kisses him on the cheek, and he's like, what the fuck was that? Another PR disaster. Like, Leslie has her work cut out for her right now. Hannah already get set, go. No. Blair comes at Serena. She's like, why are you doing this to me? Serena's like, well, you did it to yourself, babe, with the constant digs and the insults. But now that I'm here on the campus, I actually like it and I'm going to try and get in. And also, one more thing, I'm going to the dean's private reception. You mad? When Serena mentions to Chuck that she's going to the dean's private reception, he's like, you need to have an answer to the question. Apparently the dean has this secret question, which is, who would you most like to have dinner with? And Chuck's like, you may as well take Blair's answer, which is George Sand, because she's not going to need that answer, and it's a good answer. See, my answer to that question, who would I most like to have dinner with? I think Da Vinci, just so I can get him at the table and then play a Charlie XCX song and see what happens. I think he would enjoy it. He would get it. Like, we're basically the same. We're both Italian. Blair bribes her way into the party by sourcing 2 porcelain cats for the dean's cat-obsessed receptionist. Oh my god, at the reception, when Blair finds out that Serena stole her answer, she goes X Games mode. She writes down an answer as Serena and puts it in the jar. The dean reaches in, picks out Serena's fake answer, and he's like, Pete Fairman, who's that? And Blair tells everyone that's the guy Serena kinda killed. That is so fucked up, but also genius. Like, I respect her, but I also fear her. S and B take matters outside and end up physically fighting each other, which is how we get this legendary bag throw and head tilt to the beat. The girlies agree to stop the drama and the backstabbing and just not be friends anymore. That is so fucked up. Don't do that to me. I need Serena and Blair together. Stop pitting successful women against each other. But what do you know? The next day, they both go to see the dean to say how much the other one deserves Yale more. And they see each other and they're like, well, damn. Let's just be besties again. Babes, the constant whiplash is exhausting. My neck is in pain. There's also these plot lines of Chuck, Dan, and Nate going on tours at Yale, but it's also dumb. Like, I need to draw the line somewhere. Basically, all you need to know is that Chuck gets Dan into a mess. Nate helps Dan get out of said mess. Nate and Dan start becoming really good friends. Chuck and Nate have a falling out. In episode 7, we meet Eric's boyfriend Jonathan, who looks like the Onceler. In my Australian accent, I want to say Onceler, but it doesn't sound right. But then Onceler sounds like one slur. I can't win. Lily and Bart are having a housewarming party, and honestly, at this point, we're operating at one party or one high society event per episode. Jonathan isn't going to the party because Bart said it's for family only, which is not what Lily told Serena. Lily told Serena that she can bring friends. Homophobia? Homophobia. This jacket is pissing me off. I don't know how the emo girls do it. Vanessa's trying to save a bar in Brooklyn by petitioning for landmark status because of bloody course she is. Girlie needs signatures for her petition, so she goes up to Blair and she says, get me 1,000 signatures or I'll tell everyone about Marcus and Catherine. Like, what? You're sitting on that information, which is like blackmail for Marcus and Catherine. Why are you using that information to blackmail Blair to get signatures? Like, everything she does, I just have to question it. I can't read her. She's an enigma. Like, anytime she does something, I'm like, but why did you do that? These next few sentences are a mess, so strap in. Dan and Nate are becoming besties. Blair suggests to Chuck that since Dan stole his best friend and Vanessa's blackmailing her, Chuck should seduce Vanessa and ruin her, which would also be bad for friend stealer Dan. Got that? Okay, cool. So Chuck goes to the bar protest thing and Vanessa doesn't believe that he's really trying to help because he's a bad person, and then he gets slushied. And that's what you missed on Glee. Chuck continues with the plan to destroy Vanessa, but then he actually starts to like her, and I'm just sitting there like, why is this happening? At the Bart Lily housewarming, Chuck invites Vanessa and they're chatting, but then Bart blows up at Chuck for wasting his time and money by buying some random bar in Brooklyn. So Chuck is trying to do a nice thing. You know, now Miss Blair Waldorf, she is not happy about this budding Chuck-Nessa romance. See, she was starting to fall back into a Chuck Bass obsession spiral. Serena's in a pissy mood at the housewarming and wants to start shit because she doesn't like how Bart and Lily are trying to PR control their kids. So when some press at the party come up to Serena to ask some questions, she's like, oh, here's some information for you. Lily puts her boyfriends before her kids. Miss Serena, you need to calm down. Because that's mother, literally. Blah, blah, blah. Situation gets resolved. Turns out Bart wasn't being homophobic. He was just trying to protect Eric from the press. And then Serena, Eric, Lily, and Bart have cake together and they all live happily ever after. But for how long? Dan goes to Nate's house looking for him to play some soccer, and he discovers that everything in the house has been seized and Nate has been sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag. Later on, when walking past the #vitaminwater stand, Dan calls Rufus and Jenny and organizes to have Nate over for dinner. He then offers that Nate stay with them because he saw Nate's living situation, but Nate is not good at accepting help, and he's like, I'm fine, stay out of my business. Blair continues Operation Destroy Vanessa by taking Vanessa's phone and deleting the Marcus Catherine images off it, so Vanessa no longer has that blackmail. And she humiliates Vanessa by saying that Chuck is using her as a chess piece to get to the queen, referring to herself. The Chuck and Blair games, bruh. Chuck can see that Blair's chasing him and he's toying with her because she toys with him. Like, Chuck asks Blair to say I love you to him as proof that she wants him, and Blair's like, nah, not saying it. So Chuck's like, well, You can't have me. You got to chase me because it's always me chasing you. My opinion on the matter is that you both need jobs. Episode 8, titled Pret-a-Pour Jay, is a great episode. There's a lot going on. Little Jay has been on that homeschool fashionista grind. Jenny season 2 is so Cruella, and literally every scene with her in it, all I can think of is that Tik Tok. Rufus eventually backed down from his quit your job and go back to school stance after he shadowed Jenny for the day at Eleanor's atelier. But see, things are starting to get complicated for Jenny because Eleanor has started borrowing her designs. Also, Jenny has started leaning into her emo phase and has cut and dyed her hair. The emofication of Jenny, if you will, which is the inspiration for this delicious look. I also have cut and dyed hair and I love it. I love having like a little bit of, got a little blue going on for the Teen Vogue. Can we not talk about that? In the midst of the emofication of Jenny, she makes a new friend, one of the models at the atelier, named Agnes. Oh my god, I hate this character. Agnes tells Jenny that she can't let Eleanor get away with stealing her designs and that she has this photographer boyfriend Max who can shoot a campaign for Jenny's own designs. I also hate Max, but Agnes does have a good point because if Jenny lets Eleanor borrow her designs, then when Jenny debuts her own fashion line, Little J Designs, then everyone's going to be like, you copied Eleanor. When Eleanor wants to use Jenny's dress to show the Bendels buyer, Jenny's like, I don't think so. And Eleanor says, if you take this dress back, you're never coming back to work here ever again. So Jenny's like, all right, I quit. And she walks off. Girl boss. See, I respect the hustle. Everyone rags on Jenny for being irresponsible and everything. And I'm like, she's 15. So now little Jay is a homeschooled and unemployed teenager. I'm a homeschooled unemployed teenager. The finger marks on the cards, please. I will admit it's a brewing PR crisis for the Jenny-nators. Blair is going bass crazy and trying everything to get Chuck back. Sexy stocking reveal on the limo. Accidentally spilling her drink on his pants. Candlelit room. Nothing's working. She actually asks Dan for help and he actually gives good suggestions. And see, controversially, I do like the Dan and Blair interactions. I think it's because the actors have really good chemistry and play off each other really well. Anyway, Blair tells Dan that she doesn't want to give in to Chuck and tell him that she loves him because then he'll get what he wants. She'll just be like any other girl to him. Basically, Blair thinks the chase is what's keeping Chuck interested. Dan's advice to Blair is to full send it. He's like, when Serena told me she loved me, it was the best fucking day of my life. It doesn't pan out like Blair wants, and Chuck's like, I'm done with you, bye. But then later changes his tune. He's like, ugh. I love the game so much. We can't give up yet. We've got to see what happens. So basically, we end up at the same spot in the Blair and Chuck plotline, just with more neck injuries from the whiplash. Jenny and Agnes go to Max's loft to chill before going to an industry party to meet people that could kickstart Jenny's solo career. She previously ran into Nate and told him that she quit the atelier and she's going to try and do it all herself. She hasn't told Rufus yet though. We had asked Max is taking photos of Agnes and Jenny dancing around, and Agnes is like, yes, Jenny, take off your shirt. Let's party. So Max is taking photos of this 15 and 16-year-old dancing around in their underwear. Get a job. Nate's realized what's going on and turns up to Max's apartment to save Jenny. Max is like, dude, nothing's going on. Chill out. Take a photo. I would knock you out, actually. So Nate rescues Jenny and she's like, why are you in my business like that? You're not my brother. You're not my dad. And he's like, well, I care about you. And then she kisses him on the street. Meanwhile, Serena meets this Brooklyn artist named Aaron and they instantly hit it off. I also hate this character. Lots of hatred this episode. He's such a brooding artist. Annoying. Perfect for Serena. Serena realizes that she's actually met Aaron before and that's why they're getting on so well. They went to summer camp together as kids and even got fake married. Episode 9, There Might Be Blood. Spotted at Mood, Jenny Humphrey buying 16 yards of tulle. But since when does Eleanor Waldorf pay for her purchases with a penny jar? They say a stitch in time saves 9. Will it save little Jay? Freshly unemployed and lying about it to everyone, Jenny and Agnes have a plan to stage a guerrilla fashion show to try and drum up some press. That's guerrilla, not gorilla, although I would have loved a guerrilla fashion show. Nate's been avoiding Jenny since the kiss on the street, but he's like, babes, this is a bad idea, and you should tell Rufus and Dan what's going on. But Jenny's like, no. I'm doing it anyway, and if you really cared about me, you would come with me. I'm going to stage a guerrilla fashion show. Jenny's plan is to crash the New York Philanthropic Society's charity gala because she needs to raise funds, and a room full of the city's richest people is a great place to pull a stunt. But the event is honoring Lily and Bart, who have been nothing but nice to Jenny. Lily sees Jenny at the event and she's like, oh, what are you doing here, Jenny? Little J. But Nate pops up and says that he +1 Jenny, which is obviously a lie. Nate kisses Jenny again, but this time someone takes a photo and sends it to Gossip Girl. At the Poverty Loft, Rufus and Dan are playing Where in the World is Jenny Humphrey? And then Dan sees the pic of Nate kissing Jenny on Gossip Girl. I repeat, Dan finds information about Jenny and Nate on Gossip Girl, which he did not know about until he looked at the screen. Dan Dan, Rufus, and Vanessa go to the gala, where Dan immediately starts throwing hands at Nate. Jenny proceeds with the fashion show because Rufus can't punish her twice. Sad, you can't punish me twice. Sorry, I'll stop. The timing is so excellent because Bart and Lily are getting an award for opening hospitals in Equatorial Guinea, and Jenny's like, yes, look at my clothes. What are those? These are clothes. Anyway, the gorilla fashion show goes great. The rich people are yassing. Jenny runs over to kiss Nate in celebration, and Vanessa sees it. Mess. Blair's trying to increase her chances of getting into Yale by impressing one of its biggest donors, Elizabeth Boardman. It doesn't go well because Blair isn't necessarily a nice person. So Serena suggests that Blair babysit Elizabeth's 14-year-old daughter Emma. Turns out Emma is a little feral that wants to go crazy on the town to one-up her friends. While trying to stop Emma from going X Games mode at a bar, Blair sees Elizabeth Boardman kissing a random man, and she's like, perfect, blackmail material to get me into Yale. She later confronts Liz and she's about to bring up the blackmail, but then she realizes that Liz is a bad mother to Emma, so she withholds the blackmail for Emma's sake. Emma ends up telling the dean of Yale that Blair is the person that she would most like to have dinner with, so it looks like Blair's back to having a chance to getting into Yale. Now for the aftermath of Jenny's gorilla fashion show, Gorilla. Rufus is so beyond mad at Jenny. Where is he? He's like, I've never been more disappointed with you in my life. You're out of control. You need to apologize to Lily. But Lily's like, it was fun and exciting and the designs were good, but Rufus is not backing down. He's like, Jenny, you will not get away with this. Jenny's kind of egging him on. She's like, what are you going to do about it, Flop? You ain't going to do shit. So Rufus tries to get Jenny arrested. Lily's watching and she's like, what the fuck, Rufus? It's my event and I'm not pressing charges. Police, you don't need to arrest Jenny. I cannot believe that he tried to get Jenny arrested. He was so cool and fun and slay in season 1. I mean, yeah, it's not like Jenny's being an angel. I mean, she's the patron saint of fashion. Poor Jenny. All that glamour almost led to the slammer. The next day, Dan and Rufus find Jenny's room completely empty. Girlie has made a run for it. Jenny is now also in her Jojo McDodd era. See, I'm kind of obsessed with this unhinged Jenny storyline. Like, all of season 2 thus far is just Rufus being like, yell at Jenny, and Jenny being like, PR stunt and just doing shit. Also, where is your mother? You told Coach Sylvester about my summer surgery. Does Rufus call her and give her Jenny updates? Like, hey, Jenny threw a gorilla fashion show. There were like gorillas running around. And then I nearly got Jenny arrested. And Allison's on the other side like, oh, cool. All right. Bye. Could not care less that her daughter dropped out of school, quit her job, and is Robin Hooding around the Upper East Side with a girl named Agnes. I don't know what the worst part of that sentence is. Perhaps it's the name Agnes. No offense to the Agneses out there, the Agni, but when I heard that this girl's name was Agnes, I was like, why are you 16 and named Agnes? Also, in episode 10, there's a half-second clip of a newspaper article talking about the gorilla fashion show, and apparently Donald Trump was there. Donald Trump confirmed Jenny Humphrey fan. Dan has seen the PR success of Jenny acting out and wants a piece of that action, so he decides to resurrect his Chuck story for getting into Yale, but he needs something juicier on the basses. Basically, he wants clicks, views, and engagement. He starts getting closer to Bart by pretending to be interested in his business and saying he wants to shadow him, and he discovers that there was some big scandal where one of Bart's first developments burnt down, and Bart collected the insurance money, but scandalously someone died. It was kind of very easy for Dan to get information out of Bart. Like, sorry, but telling a kid you sort of know a huge career-ruining secret doesn't seem very billionaire. But then also, are billionaires even necessarily smart? Or are they just saying and doing shit? Dan doesn't end up running the Bart fire death story, but instead gives Bart the old story about Chuck and his daddy issues. Bart reads the story, tells Chuck that he doesn't hate him. Isn't that lovely? Jenny moves in with Flop Agnes, and they continue their little business plan, but Agnes is super lazy, unreliable, and unhinged, so Jenny has to cut her off. Here's a screenshot of Agnes hungover sitting next to a tower of vitamin water. Waitress, can I get a revive? Also, the way in which Jenny cuts ties with no hesitation, it's inspirational. Little J wants to soldier on with starting her own company, but there's one problem. Because she's only 15, she needs a parent to sign on her behalf. Agnes finds out that Jenny has cut her out of the business and gets all the dresses Jenny made and burns them. I mean, I get the anger because Jenny used Agnes's contacts to start her business. But at the same time, Jenny's basically doing a 1v5 Overwatch competitive match just to follow her dreams. Like, damn. If I was burning every bridge possible and Agnes pulled that stunt on me, Kris Jenner, where's my pistola? Agnes also kicks Jenny out, so now little J is roaming the city with a suitcase. Jenny tells Rufus, I'll come home if you sign the papers, and he's like, no, Flop wants La Jojo Rock chick, I'm not going to do it. Eleanor starts dating this man called Cyrus Rhodes, who's super nice, but Blair does not approve because he's kind of weird and boring and not hot. Blair tries to find a secret about Cyrus that she can exploit, but she discovers that he's a nice guy. so she calls off the attack. Family tree reveal, turns out Cyrus is the father of Aaron, the annoying artist guy Serena's kind of dating. Episode 10 also has Blair's 18th birthday, but it's weirdly low impact. Made no noise, sold paper, didn't debut on the chart. Our 18th birthday is just not a big deal in the States. That being said, there's a rogue Cyndi Lauper cameo because Cyrus bought out her show to get her to perform at Blair's party to impress Eleanor, who's a massive fan. Random as. Jenny is running out of options to get her business started without the signature from Rufus or Allison, so her last avenue is to get emancipated from her parents. Let's stay playful. I'm ignoring the Serena-Aaron storyline on purpose because it pisses me off, but I wanted to point out that Aaron keeps implying that Serena is immature. He's saying things like, I don't know how you date in high school, but this is how I do it. Oh, I'm sorry. You're dating a high schooler. So if she behaves like a high schooler, maybe that's because she's in high school. Why are you dating a high schooler? Get a job. Episode 11 is season 2's Thanksgiving episode, and it is drama galore featuring Travis Scott. Blair is screaming because Cyrus keeps intercepting her Thanksgiving traditions. He's also moved into Casa Waldorf, and to make things even worse, he's proposed to Eleanor. It's moving very quick. It's not like I deliberately missed out plot points. It's happened over like 2 episodes. Jenny has been secretly staying at Casa Vanderwoodson Bass thanks to Eric. Lily finds out, and she starts trying to mediate between Rufus and Jenny, but then she finds the emancipation papers in Jenny's bag. Speaking of Eric, he and Chuck discover that Bart has PI files on Eric and Serena in addition to the Lily one we already knew about. We need to quickly sidestep for a second. We need to talk about how Serena was queen for 5 seconds and then retired into irrelevancy oblivion. And for what? Dan? Like, sorry, why did her queen arc literally last 1.5 episodes? There's all this exposition at the start of the show about how Serena used to be this big queen menace of the school, but then we only actually see her at the top for 1.5 episodes. I wish we got more of the Queen Serena plot. I think the problem was they made it out to be that it's Blair versus Serena. There wasn't a possibility of having Blair and Serena up the top. Serena and Aaron are starting to get more serious, and Aaron mentions that he's sober and he likes to have sober energy around him. So Serena starts sweeping her old Serena ways under the rug. She's like, what's alcohol? I've literally never even seen that before. Dan somehow gets involved and there's some miscommunication bullshit. But basically Serena comes clean to Aaron about her party girl past and he's like, it's cool, whatever. Lily tells Rufus about the emancipation papers and he's just like, bruh. He confronts Jenny about it, but he doesn't get angry. He says he misses her too much and he loves and supports her, so if this is what she wants, then so be it. See, he's playing chess while Jenny's playing Uno. Nate and Anne are surprised by the Triple F felon father figure Howard, who's been living large in Dominica and wants them to come with him. Nate's just like, I don't know about all that. Nate goes to drop off something to Rufus and he gives it to Vanessa and it's super awkward, but when he leaves, an FBI agent turns up to question Vanessa. Vanessa calls Chuck like SOS, Nate is in big trouble. And as we know, there's an astronomical amount of beef between these people. Vanessa, Chuck and the FBI agent meet up with Nate, and the agent says that Howard is planning on, doing a little bit of kidnapping and extortion by threatening to take Anne and Nate to Dominica and demanding money from Anne's father, William Vanderbilt. Nate's had enough. He asks Howard to stop the bullshit and turn himself in, which he does. Lily, Serena, and Eric confront Bart about the dossiers, and Bart's like, ooh, jeepers. So they bail on Thanksgiving dinner with the Basses and end up eating fries at a diner like they did in season 1. Eric says that he read in Lily's file that she was in a mental institution. He's like, okay, twin, but Lily's not ready to talk about it yet. Eleanor and Cyrus surprise Blair with Harold Express delivered from France. So Blair's like, I guess I can make room for new traditions. The end of this episode is so... Ooh. Vanessa talks to Nate. She says, I'm glad you didn't go to Dominica. I've still got feelings for you, but I don't know where you stand with Jenny. Nate's like, oh, Jenny cut me off. And yeah, I'd like to start hanging out with you again too. At the Poverty Loft, Jenny has returned home and she's ripping up the emancipation papers. Eric and Lily turn up for a squad Thanksgiving dinner and so does Vanessa. Vanessa makes up with Jenny. Remember, those two had a falling out after Vanessa saw Nate and Jenny kissing at the gala thing. So everyone's having a good time, getting along, and then in the stack of Humphrey mail, Vanessa finds a letter from Nate saying he still loves Jenny, but Jenny never got the letter because she was fashion Jojo McDodd Cruella girl on the street. Vanessa panics because this would throw a spanner into the works of her and Nate getting back together, so she shoves the letter into her bag. And we see Bart telling his PI to find out why Lily was in a mental institution. Also, key piece of information from this episode, Dorota's ringtone is I'm a Slave for You by Britney Spears.
Don't you dare answer that Blackberry, Dorota.
And at first I was like, yes, Dorota taste. And then I was like... Hold on. There's levels to this. Jenny is serving Dobby as a free elf in this outfit. Also, what is this ring? Blair slayed this outfit. And as much as it pains me to say, Chuck slayed this outfit. In episode 12, Aaron's ex Lexi comes to town and she's so fucking annoying. And I can't handle 4 annoying characters in one storyline, so we're not covering it. Chuck and Blair are still playing mind games with each other, which at this point just feels like a broken record. The juiciest storylines are Jenny and Vanessa, and then Rufus and Lily, so let's talk about those. So Jenny doesn't know that Vanessa is now dating Nate again. Someone sends Gossip Girl a pic of Nate and Vanessa kissing, and Jenny sees it, and she's like, oh, bitch. Evil minion from days past, Penelope, is also crushing on Nate, and she wants to see Vanessa go down. So she gives Jenny the idea to act fake to Vanessa and offer to make her a dress for this upcoming winter ball thing as a peace offering, but make it see-through so that Vanessa gets humiliated. The way this girl is constantly the target of a scheme, I almost feel bad. Almost. Also, this winter-themed ball is very much Pretty Little Liars Season 5 Winter Wonderland. Where's Cece? Bart apologizes to Lily about having the files on Eric and Serena, and he says that he'll call off his private investigator, but Lily finds out he was lying, and she's just so done with the lies and the bullshit. At the winter ball, Lily tells Rufus that she's going to leave Bart. Vanessa turns up wearing the dress. Jenny's there like, oopsies, maybe that was a bad idea. I'm going to go warn Vanessa about her upcoming potential PR disaster. But then Jenny sees Vanessa and Nate talking, and she's like, actually, let me mind my business. Vanessa's feeling terrible about the stolen letter debacle, and she's telling Nate what she did. She walks away crying, but then Penelope and the rats shine the spotlight on Vanessa, revealing the see-through dress trap. Nate sees this happen, and he sees Jenny, and he's putting 2 and 2 together. He tells Jenny that even though Vanessa did some mean shit, Jenny took it way too far, and he's glad the letter never made it to her because she's not the person that he thought she was. Damn. Double homicide. Jenny sees Vanessa and Nate kissing outside, and she concedes defeat in the girl boss war. She also tells Penelope and the rats that Vanessa is 10 times better than all of them. Chuck overhears Lily and Rufus talking about their future plans, and he calls Bart to warn him. Bart's in his limo on the way to the ball, and he's got the PI in the car, and he's like, tell me what you know. Chuck confronts Lily and says, Daddy's on his way. At the end of the episode, Chuck is dancing with Blair, and Lily's looking for him. She's all disheveled. Serena's there, and she's like, Mom, what's wrong? Bart's been in an accident. Come on, cliffhanger. More towers than Trump. More bucks than Bloomberg. Bart Bass definitely made his mark on Manhattan. The passing of a public figure can shake a whole town, but the real story is always the one happening in private, away from the headlines, at home. Bart Bass has died. The Gossip Girl blog post is actually really nice, but I kind of wish it was super nasty and catty. Like, that would be nice for me personally. Oh my god, Kelly Rutherford does disheveled Lily so well. Where is her Emmy? She's all over the place after Bart's death, so much so that formerly evil high society grandma Cece's in town to help out. Lily goes for a walk in the park and meets up with Rufus, and she says she feels like shit because Bart died on the way to her breaking off their marriage. Rufus is listening to this and he's like, Lily babe, I'll wait for you this time. Take as long as you want. Turns out Lily has a missed call from Bart on her phone, and he left a voicemail. Lily, we need to talk. And not about how my wife is making a fool of me with her old lover. I know the real reason you were in that hospital in France. That is so fucking juicy. Meanwhile, no one's heard from Chuck. He's been drinking himself into a hole in his hotel suite. Ed Westwick wants to be Batman so bad with the dead parents billionaire brooding. And in this episode, he has the pale, unwell look happening. So I think there's some Edward Cullen inspo going on there. At the funeral, Chuck is drunk and just saying anything. He has a go at Dan for even being at the funeral, saying, your father is the reason why Bart's dead. And then he yells at Lily and calls her a whore. Question mark? Rude. By the way, Chuck is like full-on billionaire now because he's inherited all of Daddy's cash. In her time of mourning, Serena has turned more to Dan than her annoying flop boyfriend Aaron. After the funeral, Aaron gives Serena plane tickets for a couple's trip to Buenos Aires. And when Serena says she has to stay in New York for her lonely brother, her shambles mother, and her insane stepbrother, Aaron's like, okay, yeah, but are you sure it's not because of Dan? Aaron, 3 words, 7 letters. Chuck accuses Lily of cheating on Bart with Rufus and blames her for Bart's death, so she slaps him, and he storms out. Blair goes out after Chuck. She's like, fuck everyone else. I'll follow you through anything. You know why? Because I love you. Ding, ding, ding. Chuck's just kind of like, well, that's too bad. And he drives off in the limo. That's too damn bad. Lily tells Cece that she's got to pay off Bart's PI because otherwise the reason why she was in the hospital in France will get out to Chuck, and that would be very bad. And Serena overhears Lily talking to Cece about being in love with Rufus, and this time she's like, go. You should be with him. I'm not going to stand in the way like last time. Dan and I are over. In fact, Aaron and I are going on a trip. Cece doesn't pay the PI. The PI tells Chuck that Cece said that Lily doesn't want to hide her past anymore, which is a lie. Chuck tells Lily he can't believe that she wants to go public with the info, and she's like, how do you know what happened? Cece paid the PI. And he's like, well, she didn't. Lily basically begs Chuck to not do anything with this secret information, and he listens and actually throws the papers in the fire. Eleanor and Cyrus decide to get married immediately because death is all around. Eleanor is like, no, I don't have a dress. Jenny's like, don't even worry, babe. I'll do an all-nighter and I'll whip something up for you. So Jennifer Humphreys turns out a tailored wedding jacket with feature collar in one night. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, oh, okay. At this random Eleanor Cyrus wedding, Dan tells Serena that she shouldn't go on the trip with Aaron. And Serena's like, well, Jojo, too little, too late. Also, our parents are about to date. And then Serena and Aaron go to the airport. Cece pays a visit to Rufus. She just wants Lily to be happy. And in order for Lily and Rufus's relationship to succeed, Cece thinks that she has to spill the beans. Cut to a different scene of Rufus meeting Lily and asking, tell me one thing. Was it a boy or a girl? Has anyone seen my jaw? Snap, girl. So that was the mid-season finale. We got a juicy cliffhanger. What more could you ask for? Let's just quickly cover this mess of a family tree that's brewing. Serena is dating Aaron, whose father just married Eleanor, Blair's mother. Serena's mother, Lily, was married to Bart Bass, Chuck's father, and she's also on and off with her ex, Rufus Humphrey, who is Serena's ex, Dan's father. If Serena married Aaron, that would make her and Blair stepsisters-in-law through the Rhodes-Waldorf side, but then if Blair married Chuck, she'd be stepsisters-in-law with Serena again, but through the Bass Vanderwoodson side. That's not even really covering the Dan-Serena shenanigans. Also, now we know that apparently Dan and Serena share some secret step-sibling. Episode 14, it's now January 2009, both in the real world and in the Gossip Gooniverse. Jenny has decided to go back to school after her rebellious Cruella era and the resulting near emancipation. Since she's no longer one of the minions, remember Valentino Gate, she's worried about a showdown with Penelope, Hazel, and Iz. Icon Nelly Yuki isn't a wartime threat against Jenny. She's actually excited that Jenny is back to challenge the power hierarchy. After some back and forth, Jenny threatens to tell all their secrets to Gossip Girl, so they back off. Post 3 words 8 letters shut down by Chuck, Blair Nation is in rebuild phase and she's got a new target to aspire towards, the Colony Club. It's apparently like a prestigious New York City ladies club or something. This girlie's always got a goal that she's working towards. She's also acting like she's unbothered that freshly orphaned Chuck has disappeared, but she jumps when Chuck's uncle Jack Bass texts her to say that he found Chuck. Jack is a new character and he's replacing the bass hole-shaped crevice that Bart left in the show. So Chuck's back from wherever he was and he's on every drug possible. He's smoking joints in front of the headmistress, he's buying back Victrola, he's also being an asshole to Blair who's just trying to help him. Are you gonna leave or tell me you love me again? Let me clutch my pearls. Serena's back from Buenos Aires and she tells Dan that she and Aaron actually broke up on the plane there. Serena also got a cryptic message from Lily saying that she and Rufus would never be together, essentially greenlighting Dorina Attempt 3. Really? Again? A fucking again? Nothing new, nothing changed, same old shit. Also, these blog posts of Serena on holiday made me fucking pissed because the Photoshop is so bad. Come on, travel catfish. Rufus is trying to find information on the baby that Lily put up for adoption by calling adoption agencies, but so far nada. He tries to get more info out of Lily and she lets slip that it was a boy. Dan's trying to work out what's going on and Rufus isn't saying anything except, did Chuck tell you? So Dan goes and asks Chuck. Chuck tells Dan about the secret Rufus Lily baby to return the favor for Dan not publishing the Bart Fire Insurance death story. Lily tells Rufus that she wasn't ready to have a baby way back when and she was still heartbroken over Rufus. Rufus tells Lily that the news has leaked to Dan, but Lily wants to tell Eric and Serena herself, so Rufus calls Dan and says don't tell Serena anything. Meanwhile, the Colony Club women say nasty shit about Serena, Lily, and Chuck to Blair, and Blair's like, hell nah, get out of my house. She goes to the party that Chuck's hosting at Victrola. She meets up with Jack and they both find Chuck on the rooftop about to jump. They talk him down from the rooftop. When Jack and Blair get Chuck into a limo, Blair tells Jack that Chuck can never know what happened between them on New Year's. Oh? Episode 15, Gone with the Will. Time to get messy at Bass Industries. Bart's fortune has been left to Chuck in a trust that he can access when he's 18. Jack is named Chuck's official legal guardian. 29% of Bass Industries is left to the board and 20% is left to Lily. The majority share is bequeathed to Chuck. Bequeathed? Ew. Chuck's kind of like, what the actual fuck is going on here? Bart said I was shit and now he wants me to run the company. Initially he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to run the company. But then Blair convinces him that he needs to do it. Uncle Jack, however, is not McLoving this because he'd previously been banished to running operations in Sydney, but he wants the big dog CEO position. He hatches a plan to convince Blair that a surprise brunch for Chuck is a good idea. Then he'll get Chuck super drunk and secretly invite the board members so they can see how unfit Chuck is for the job and vote Jack in instead. The plan works. The board members see Chuck doing cocaine with prostitutes. Blair sees this all unfold as well, and then when Chuck leaves his office and sees the brunch party that Blair had organised to be supportive, Chuck tells Blair, stop trying to be the wife. Blair, girl, how many times are you going to let that man walk all over you? Especially when you're serving slay outfits like this one. Nate's back. Where did you even go? Question mark. He and Vanessa are having their 2-month anniversary. Okay. Rufus and Lily have left town to try and find this adopted Humphrey Vanderwoodson child, but it turns out the adoptive parents don't want Rufus and Lily looking for their child. Dan tells bestie Vanessa about the secret half-sibling situation and how he can't tell Serena, and then he loses his phone, and the minions find it. Vanessa texts Dan to say that he needs to tell Serena about the secret child. Specifically, she says, "When are Lily and Rufus back? S needs to know about their child." Like, yes, girl, use those abbreviations to save that character limit. The minions see the text come through and they send it to Gossip Girl, who blasts it during the Chuck brunch. That is such a juicy piece of intel for Gossip Girl to get. Like, I just know that she was swinging her feet and giggling when she saw that come through. Potentially the biggest spill of her career. Also a massive plot hole, but whatever. Also, this secret child news happening while Dan and Serena are re-debuting is just so messy. Like, Dan, Serena, Eric, and Jenny are just kind of like, we share a brother. So what now? Also, Nate tells Dan, "I know all about personal shit being blasted everywhere. I'm here for you." So they're friends again. Dan forgives him for the Jenny hookup drama. The adoptive father, Chris, secretly agrees to meet up with Rufus and Lily and tells them that the secret son died, ? Your secret son can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh, because he's dead. Turns out Chris fucking lied and the son is alive, but Chris's other son really did die, and him and his wife don't want to lose another. Jack's plan worked, and Chuck has been booted for being irresponsible, and Jack has been put in charge as his official guardian as per clause in the will. Chuck goes to apologize to Blair, but she is done with watching him Slater self-destruct, and also with being walked over, pushed in front of a Bass limo, run over, reversed over. Outfit change. This one's a little bit of a jump scare. Hey you guys, it's Blair here. I didn't have a headband, so I had to DIY with my Casablanca silk scarf. I swear to God, this is like the wiggiest wig to ever wig. Corporate wants you to spot the difference between these two pictures. So, what now? Oh my God, wait, I need to do the pose. A screenshot of that could honestly stop global warming. Episode 16, You've Got Yale. I love that title. I've got some fun screenshots from this episode, so strap in. You can probably guess what's going to happen in this episode. The girlies are finding out who has and hasn't got early acceptance into Yale. Howard and Roman are in town and give Blair a dog called Handsome Dan in anticipation of her getting her Yale letter. Apparently a bulldog is like the mascot of Yale. Blair's like, "We can keep the Handsome, but we have to drop the Dan because I have Dan trauma." Understandable. So Roman asks Blair, "Where's Mr. Chuck?" And Blair says, "I wouldn't know and I don't care. He's as dead to me as his father is to him." Girl. Screenshot of Blair's excellent outfit. Screenshot of Serena drinking a normal-sized coffee. If you know the Mike's Mike law, you would know that I got called out for drinking a tiny coffee when in fact I was drinking a regular coffee. It's not my fault that you drink regular Starbucks that's this big. That's not my fault. You're drinking Starbucks, plural. I'm drinking Starbucks, singular. There's a new teacher at Constance, Rachel Carr. This character... stab me in the face right now, please. She's the new Shakespeare teacher or some shit. And she's like, "Ooh, young teacher, I'm from Iowa. Now I'm in the big smoke." I mean, I would say get a job, but she evidently has one. What the fuck do you mean Shakespeare teacher? What does that mean? Everyone's phones go off. This is Big Brother. It's the Yale admission emails. Serena gets early admission. Dan gets early admission. Blair gets waitlisted and she acts like she can't read the screen. But icon Nelly Yuki is more than happy to point it out. This is so fucked up. It's a major PR disaster for Blair. Leslie is on the phone as we speak. Serena sees how upset Blair is and she's like, "Oh my God, I got waitlisted too. Waitlist buddies." She's lying. Blair goes to talk to Headmistress Queller, who says, "Chill out, bro, just keep up your good grades and you'll get in at normal admission time. Also, if the student who got early admission declines it, then you'll get early admission." So Blair's operating at a 10 right now. The stress levels are so extremely high. She gets an essay back from Miss Carr and it's a bad grade, and every bad grade will impact her Yale chances. So she tries to bully Miss Carr into inflating the grade by teaching her a lesson and humiliating her. Chuck's trying to get Uncle Jack out of Bass Industries, but nothing's working. So he turns to the one person who actually can help him, Lily, who has a 20% share in the company and who he recently called a whore. Lily is very much sick of Jack as well. He told her that the company would much rather him in charge than a woman with her reputation. One of the ideas that Chuck suggests is to crash Jack in a plane, and that is just so topical and relevant considering I'm working on a Lost series right now as well. Lily Vanderwoodson and Chuck Bass kickstarted the events that resulted in Oceanic Flight 815 crashing on a beach. Serena realizes that she doesn't actually want to go to Yale because they're treating her just as some kind of PR opportunity, and she's decided she wants to go to Brown. around. So since Serena's out of Yale, Blair is in. Dan's like, what the fuck, stepsister girlfriend? Why didn't you tell me that you got into Yale in the first place? And she's like, I don't want to go to Yale because they just want me as a press opportunity. Dan's mad and jobless. What's new? So now, Blair doesn't actually need to go through with her plan to humiliate Miss Carr, but she decides to do it anyway because what's the worst that could happen? After Blair sets up Miss Carr with a fake dinner to humiliate her and she tries to backtrack and undo the damage, Miss Carr calls headmistress Quella and snitches on Blair. Quella tells Yale and Blair's acceptance gets put on hold until she does a bunch of detention. Trauma. Surprisingly no tarmac involved though. Guys, I actually look so much like Blair. This is so scary. Go piss, girl. Rufus and Lily go to the opera, and it's kind of their high society debut as a couple post-dead Bass. Jack Bass is there being a piece of shit, and Vanessa and Nate are also there. Those two are very much gender-flipped Dan and Serena light right now. He's got box seats for the opera, and he was going to offer them to Vanessa, but Vanessa bought not as good tickets, but he didn't want her to feel bad, so he didn't say anything. So Serena and Dan different worlds core. Lily runs into the Bass family lawyer and works out how to get rid of Jack. By legally adopting Chuck, she would become his official guardian, thus therefore becoming CEO of Bass Industries. Chuck's all for it, signs straight away, and Jack sees this happen. Lily's in the bathroom retouching her lippy, and Jack comes in on some coke rage shit and tries to R-word her, but Chuck breaks into the bathroom and saves Lily. Jack gets booted from the company, Chuck moves back in with the Vanderwoodsons, so now he's Eric and Serena's adopted brother, not just stepbrother. This family tree, my lord. In episode 17, Blair decides that she needs to go full mean girl and bring Rachel Carr down for fucking up her Yale admission, even though it was very much her own fault. But also, I'm Team Blair on this. Like, I stand by my friends. Rachel's randomly started hanging out with Dan because she once mentioned that she was new to the city and he was like, oh, you should come to Brooklyn one time. So now they hang out and it's weird. Rachel's also turned the entire school against herself by suggesting a no phones policy to the headmistress. Blair and the minions get Dorota to bring extra phones to the school and they go to the bathroom to dig up dirt on Miss Carr, but they find nothing, so they just start making shit up about her. Some observations on these minions. I love how they all have their own different color that they always wear. They're like the Power Rangers if they slayed. I need the girl who plays Hazel to be in a slasher, and Nelly Yuki is obsessed with checking stocks. Nelly Yuki stands make some noise. The sound is deafening. Blair sees Dan and Rachel talking and she's like, I could do something with this. And she sends a tip to Gossip Girl that they're hooking up. When Gossip Girl posts the tip, Dan doesn't find out until Jenny tells him about it later by writing the e-blast on her arm because she can't bring her phone into the school. Serena tells Rachel about the tip and she explains what Gossip Girl is. Yeah, it's a website where a girl posts gossip, or at least we think it's a girl. Rachel works out that Blair sent the tip, snitches on Blair to the headmistress, and Blair gets expelled. Sada! I got expelled from Constance. Wait, wrong character. Imagine Blair's PR team right now. Absolute crisis mode. Leslie's quit because she can't handle it. Blair tells her dad that her Yale admission is going to get revoked because she got expelled, and she doubles down on her lie and says everything that she posted was the truth. I'm getting expelled for telling the truth. Serena meets up with Rachel to try and get her to backtrack on Blair's expulsion, but the rat girl won't budge. Rachel accidentally leaves her diary, and Serena sees it. She's like, oh, I'm gonna give this to her. She looks in Rachel's diary to find her next meeting and crashes it. Sees Rachel with Dan in a really romantic looking restaurant and him tucking her hair behind her ear, and Serena snaps a pic. Classic GG timing situation, because the second Serena leaves, Rachel's like, we can't be doing this, and she pulls back. Still fucking weird to have that relationship anyway. Serena shows Blair the pic and they take it to the emergency Constance parent-teacher meeting that Harold has called to discuss Blair's expulsion and the impact of Gossip Girl on the school. Everyone sees the pic, Rachel gets fired. We all celebrated. We did. Serena tells Dan that she took the photo, and he's like, what the fuck? Why? Serena tells Dan that she thought he and Rachel were hooking up, and maybe she believed the worst because a part of her wanted to. This on top of their parents dating and the dead shared brother, it's a lot. So they break up again. To be honest, I wasn't really sure if they were actually back together to start with. Dan goes to Rachel's house to apologize for what happened, but she kisses him and she's like, I don't teach at the school anymore, so we can do what we want. And apparently what she wants to do is have sex with one of her students, which is exactly what happens. Weirdo, like what? So Blair lied when she tipped off Gossip Girl about the Dan Rachel tea, but it ended up coming true. Chuck has a storyline about an elite society /sex club or something. It's filler. Just know that he spends a lot of time trying to find this girl from the secret society, blah, blah, blah. And his dad, Bart, was a member, and a lot of influential men are as well, blah, blah, blah. In the end, the girl ends up conning him and tells him to give his heart to someone who cares. Episode 18 centers around the school play, Who Cares? Me, actually. This kind of random feature episode almost feels nostalgic, like it reminds me of Glee. The play that Constance and St. Jude students are working on is The Age of Innocence, which is why the episode's called The Age of cognitive dissonance. I don't really know what the Age of Innocence is about, but there's rich people and class struggles, so it kind of mirrors the characters in Gossip Girl. For example, Nate's character experiences bankruptcy and public humiliation, so everyone in the senior cohort is required to participate except for Chuck, who got his doctor to diagnose him with acute stage fright, so he can't do it. Like, Chuck Bass doctor, they excusing me. Blair is loving life right now because she was right about Rachel and back to going to Yale. Icon Nelly Yuki gets an email saying that she got into Yale. But how can that be since only one person from the school gets early acceptance and Blair has it? She chases up the headmistress, who says she told Yale Blair had detention but not what for, but someone anonymously called and spilled that she hazed a teacher, so Yale rescinded Blair's acceptance. Blair is collapsing so hard at this news, like she fell through the floor, through the earth's core, she's in the magma. Meanwhile, post-Dan breakup, Serena starts crushing on Julian, who's directing the play and has a huge ego. Vanessa's filming a documentary about the school production for some fucking reason. Rachel's back to working at the school. Because apparently there wasn't sufficient evidence to fire her. She and Dan are coordinating a booty call via notes, and Rufus intercepts a note from Rachel to Dan saying to meet at her place that night. Rufus tells Dan to stay away from Rachel, but he's like, psh, YOLO, I can do what I want. So Blair thinks Nellie made the anonymous call to Yale, but she didn't. Then Gossip Girl blasts out that Serena only got into Yale because of PR, and Serena goes off on Blair for it, but Blair didn't send it, which is weird because the only other person Serena told was Dan. I'm a seagull. No, you're a shameless bitch.
I'm a seagull. No, you're a shameless bitch.
I love that clip out of context because what are you talking about? While the students are on stage doing the play, Dan and Rachel are having sex in the costume closet. You're all getting a lasagna. Later on, Blair has a go at Dan because she's realized that he knows all of the info that's been leaked thus far, but he didn't leak it. Serena finds out that her director crush Julian is gay. Serena just says shit on that Samsung flip shot of hers. Dan works out that Rachel was the one who sent the Gossip Girl tips in and called Gale to snitch on Blair. He goes off at her and then tells Blair, who also goes off at her. Rachel's like, oh, I deserve the backlash. I don't know who or what I've become. Girl, shut up. You suck. After all this drama and realizing that Yale is officially over for her, Blair starts spiraling. And who turns up just in time to buy her drinks at a bar? Felon Carter Bazin. In episode 19, we find out that back in the day, Lily hooked up with Slash. The context to this is that Lily and Rufus are like, let's be honest with each other and write lists of everyone we've ever slept with. And Lily has this long list and Rufus has like 8 people. So Lily hides half her list and Rufus is like, phew. But then Rufus finds the full list and gets mad for a bit. It's jobless behavior. Lily calls him out for being weird about how many people she slept with and how he was relieved at her condensed list. New character alert, Nate's cousin Trip Vanderbilt. He's sort of like old money politics cousin kind of vibe. So Trip's trying to convince Nate to come to a family reunion, but Nate's like, fuck y'all. This is because of how William cut him and his mother off when all of the Howard shit was going down. Vanessa tells Nate that he should forgive them and go to the reunion, so they go together. It's at William Vanderbilt's manor and the old money is old moneying. William's being suspiciously nice to Nate, saying how proud he is of Nate stepping up and handling the Howard situation. Vanessa meets Trip's fiance Maureen, who keeps saying when Nate goes into politics, but Vanessa's like, he's not really interested. But Maureen's like, neither was Trip. Until William got in his ear. Boom, random Blue Fly sponsorship. In my humble opinion, Trip kind of looks like the villain from Wreck-It Ralph. The next day, Vanessa says to Nate, watch out for William. But Nate's like, don't worry, I'm not going to be persuaded. They also talk about how they're going on a backpacking trip through Europe in the coming summer. But little does V know, William has organised an internship for Nate in the mayor's office in the summer, which Nate ends up accepting, and he and Vanessa get into a fight and sort of break up, but also not really. Blair is mid-de-Yale-fication spiral and just kind of doing anything. She's hooking up with international felon Carter Bazin. She's cosplaying as Hannah Marin season 1, episode 1 and stealing sunglasses. Saying anything to anyone and offending a whole bunch of high society people. Chuck and Serena are like, right, we've got to do something here. Serena says to Carter, leave Blair alone or I'll spill the beans on what happened in Santorini. What the fuck happened in Santorini? Whatever happened, it must be bad, because he's like, oh, okay. Blair's begging any and all universities to get in, but nobody wants her because of the teacher hazing incident. Chuck is surprisingly being a nice person and genuinely trying to help Blair out of her spiral. It's like a role reversal of the last 35 episodes. Nate also gives Blair a pep talk about remembering who she is, which is really sweet. I like Nate Archibald. He's a gentleman. He is. That night, Chuck goes to Blair's house to tell her he loves her, but he sees Nate's blazer. Blair's upstairs with Nate because he escorted her home, and she's like, Nate, stay, and grabs his hand. Also, Serena finds out about Dan sleeping with Rachel from Blair, and she slaps him. Very good. Episode 20 is Jenny's 16th birthday. Serena runs into Poppy Lifton. What's in NBLB, so they call her new Bob. Poppy's having little digs at Serena, saying she's boring, and Serena's like, no, I'm not. I'm hosting a sweet 16 for my friend Jenny. You should come. Poppy, Poppy, love. Poppy's like, I'll have to check my schedule, but have fun at your little party. Poppy also mentions that she's got a new boyfriend, Gabriel Edwards. Later on, Serena and Lily tell Jenny about the party they're planning for her, and little Jay's like, babes, I don't want a party. I have no friends. I just want to do something low-key with the fam. Eric triggers Jenny cake PTSD. Serena takes Jenny shopping for a B-Day outfit in BYO's Poppy. Shopping. Love. And Poppy convinces S that she needs this Jenny party to go ahead to let everyone know that Serena's still an it girl. Shopping spree with Lady Gaga Money Honey playing and Serena wearing a crusty yellow top. Yeah, that's history. So now S is throwing a surprise party for Jenny, who absolutely does not want it. Blair's been hanging out with Nate again, but hiding it from absolutely everyone. There's a fun scene where she's walking around the city and Serena calls her, and Blair lies and says she's at home chilling, but they're actually walking on the same street, so Blair has to hide behind a tree. Vanessa gets an email from Nate to meet at his house, and she's so happy because those two haven't spoken since the internship fight. She turns up just in time to see Blair leaving Nate's house. Turns out Chuck sent the email so that Vanessa would see what's going on and would agree to help him scheme against the Blair and Nate recoupling. Meanwhile, Blair wants Nate to officially break things off with Vanessa so that she and Nate can re-debut on the Upper East Side chart as a couple. As I've said before, I love Blair and Nate together. So Nate meets up with V, calls it off, but says that there isn't someone else, which Vanessa knows is a lie because she knows that Blair's involved. Vanessa goes to meet with Chuck for a scheming sesh because she doesn't like being treated like an idiot. Jenny turns up to Casa Vanderwoodson for B-Day board games and is shocked to see this rando party, and she's not happy about it. Like, yes, Serena is being nice by throwing a party for Jenny, but she also absolutely has her own agenda going on. So as retaliation, Jenny texts Gossip Girl about the party so that it can be gate crashed. Vanessa and Chuck see Blair and Nate at the party, and to start drama, when B and N are looking, they kiss each other. Nate confronts Vanessa, saying that nothing's going on with Blair, they've just been hanging out. But Blair wants something to be going on with Nate, and she tries to seduce him, but he's not having a bar of it. Blair and Nate have a fight. Nate tells Vanessa that she's turning into Blair. Drama. Lily and Rufus come home to a Walking Dead-esque horde trying to get into the building and carnage in the apartment. Serena admits to starting the party, but she says that Jenny made it feral by tipping off Gossip Girl. Serena and Jenny get in trouble. Serena tells Poppy about what happened, and Poppy's like, babes, come to Spain with me and Gabriel. Serena's like, I can't because I'm grounded. But then she's like, wait, no, actually, I will go on a rogue trip to Spain. Dan gets his first fan letter. I think it's from that story of his that got published in The New Yorker in season 1. Rufus opens a letter from Yale, and Dan's financial aid has been declined. Lily finds out and offers to pay for Dan's tuition because she's Gwen Stefani rich girl. And Rufus is like, no, I gotta do this myself. He loves to be a martyr. He starts considering selling the loft and moving in with the Vanderwoodsons. Remember, selling the rental loft. But then Jenny and Dan find out, and they all decide they're not ready for that move yet. The morning after the party, Nate surprises Blair at the park at her favorite spot and kisses her and says he wants to be with her. Whiplash. But also, Chuck wakes up in his room with Vanessa getting dressed. So Chuck and Vanessa hooked up, but they've agreed to hide it from everyone. This is also stressful. Who hasn't hooked up with who? It's literally Love Island Upper East Side edition. Can I pull you for a chat, babe? Can I pull you for a chat, babe? Ugh. Dan calls Scott, the kid who wrote the fan letter, and he's like, this is Dan Humphrey, I got your mail. And then boom, Chris, the father of the fake dead Humphrey Vanderwoodson brother, he answers and he says Scott can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh, because he's unavailable. Chris and his wife Renee are like, shit, Scott contacted Rufus's son, so he must know what's going on, and they delete the call from Scott's phone. Lily gets a text from Serena saying she's going to Spain with Poppy for the week. What a text to get from your daughter. That girl just does fucking anything. Poppy. Poppy, love. Side note, how old even is Poppy Lifton? Like, what's your story? Turns out, apparently Serena had actually met Poppy's boyfriend Gabriel before in her Georgina days. Gabriel's played by Armie Hammer. Can I make a cannibal joke? I'm just checking with my manager. She said no. I really like episode 21. It's got an excellent dinner party, which is one of my favorite things about Gossip Girl, so let's build up the context for that. Blair has a dream that she's a poor girl again, except this time it's not Dream Serena that shits all over her dreams of going to Yale. It's Dream Rich Blair in the exact same outfit. Out of the dream realm, Blair is absolutely clutching at straws, trying to find a goal to work towards because that's something that she needs, something to latch onto. Nate invites Blair to Tripp's wedding, and she uses this opportunity to try and get in with the rich society girlies in the bridal party. She's thinking that maybe she can use them to get into the Whitney. Looks like the Whitney is another one of those society group things. However, the bridesmaids are picked from a list that's approved by politics grandpa William, so Blair needs to get in his good books first. Nate gets into Columbia University and is really proud of himself because he did it without his family's help, but William wants Nate to go to Yale. So William and Blair strike up a deal where if she convinces Nate to go to Yale, then he'll pull some strings, get Blair into the bridal party, and he'll even call the Whitney. Nate, however, is beyond done with his family, and he's planning to cut them off fully forever after the wedding. Cyrus, remember Eleanor's husband, tells Blair that he knows some higher-ups at NYU that owe him a favor and he could talk to them for Blair. And Blair's like, ew, I'm not going to that rat school. Cyrus is also hosting a Seder party, which Blair can't go to because she's going to the wedding rehearsal dinner. Serena's back from her week in Spain, but Chuck knows that Poppy actually came back a few days earlier, so Serena's been swanning around just with Gabriel. Serena calls Cyrus, saying that she needs a lawyer. Very random. Even more random when you remember that Cyrus is her ex-boyfriend Aaron's dad. Lily's like, what the fuck, you rat daughter, you're back. Also, you're grounded. Serena sneaks out to meet with Cyrus, and we find out that she accidentally married Gabriel in Spain and needs an annulment. Girl, what are you doing? Meanwhile, Rufus is stressing because no one wants to buy art anymore, recession vibes. Since Dan got rejected from financial aid and they're not selling the loft, that cash has to come from somewhere. So penniless Penn Badgley gets a job as a cater waiter, even though Rufus doesn't want him to work while finishing school. But Dan's first gig is to cater the Waldorf Seder party, and he overhears the Serena Spanish marriage reveal. Serena tells Dan that Poppy and Gabriel got in a fight at the start of the trip and Poppy went home. She and Gabriel started hanging out, got drunk, and got married in front of a priest. Lily and Rufus turn up to Casa Waldorf for dinner. Lily organized for them to be invited after finding out that a famous art collector was going to be in attendance, and she's connected the pieces so that Rufus can make some moves and sell some art. Rufus sees Dan and he's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And Serena's like, oh, Blair invited me and I invited Dan. Lies, 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 lies. Eleanor's super confused because Blair was never going to the party, so why would she invite Serena? Gabriel turns up at Casa Waldorf looking for Serena. Apparently he called Casa Vanderwoodson and Chuck said that she would be there. I simply do not understand how these rich people houses work. What do you mean the elevator opens straight up into the house? Okay, so I guess then they must buzz people up. So then why are they constantly surprised by who walks through the elevator door? Who is letting these people into your houses? Eleanor's like, hello, random southern gentleman, friend of Serena, why don't you join us for dinner? So much mess. Kim Woodburn would have a field day. Serena is married to Gabriel, but she's lying to him that she's dating Dan so that he backs off. Dan is catering the dinner, but lying to Rufus that he got invited by Serena. Rufus hates the rich art guy because he's implying that the art in Rufus's gallery might not be worth his time. Eleanor doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Cyrus just wants to have his Seder party, but he's also involved because he knows about the Serena Spanish marriage drama. This scene is so good. You spin my hair around. Guys, look at my wig. This is so voluminous. What the hell? But yes, this scene fits right into the Gossip Girl tradition of having banger songs over the top of fast-paced drama dinners. Very hard to recap in this format and largely inconsequential, but fun. The truth comes out and Serena apologizes to Gabriel. Turns out their wedding in Spain wasn't at all official, and she also says that she's not actually dating Dan. Lily's just like, Serena, can you just not make a scene for once? Also, you got into Brown, congratulations. Rufus sells the art guy a painting, but then he has an epiphany and he's like, I want to sell my art gallery. At the rehearsal dinner, Nate starts cussing out Grandpa William because he found out that William got the Triple F flop felon father Howard investigated. Blair's like, oh, are you okay? Maybe we should leave. She's being genuine. She does care about Nate more than some random Whitney deal. William tells Nate that he was just looking out for him and Anne when Howard refused to get help. Nate's just like, alright babe, so just say that and stop lying. So William tells Nate about the deal with Blair. Yet another bruh moment. Nate is super disappointed in Blair, trying to manipulate him just to further her own agenda. Also, there's a side plot of Jenny having a date over at Casa Vanderwoodson and Chuck ruining it by being a weirdo. And boss babe Jenny says, if I tell Rufus and Lily what you did 39 episodes ago, they'll absolutely kick you out if us Humphreys move in. Yeah, remember that? Episode 1? Chuck ends up apologizing to Jenny and says, if you ever move in, I'll move out because I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Blair ends up asking Cyrus to put in a good word with NYU. Nate turns up, she apologizes for her antics, he forgives her. Serena texts Gabriel, but then we see him with Poppy and she's like, tell me everything. Sorry, why did so much have to happen in that episode? Like, let's stay playful. Also, Penn Badgley talks so fast, I can't keep living like this, Trisha Paytas core. Side note, I really like the writing and character development for Blair in season 2. She has a motive for all her bitchy plots. She's lost in life because she's not going to Yale, so she's desperately trying to find an in to society. She also feels bad sooner. Growth. Episode 22, also I'm back in this outfit because that wig, something's going on with that wig. I think it's possessed. It's the spirit of Anne. So episode 22. Blair's scared of the subway because rats go underground, not Waldorfs. She and Nate are in a good place, but Chuck's still pursuing Blair and she's not necessarily turning him down. Rufus wants to propose to Lily, but he's not sure on the timing funds-wise. And how old is this man supposed to be? You could be any age from 20 to 35. Serena tells Blair that she's obsessed with Gabriel, but sometimes he's flaky and randomly disappears. Blair is suspicious of Gabriel and she also needs an outlet, so she's decided to tail him to work out what's going on. That night, at dinner with Lily, Rufus and Serena, Gabriel's talking about backing a company that makes the internet more accessible for developing countries, and they're all like, wow, you're saving lives. And then he's randomly like, oh, Gotta go. Chuck runs into espionage mode Blair outside Casa Vanderwoodson, and he knows she's spying on someone because she's wearing a beret. I mean, you gotta dress the part. They see Gabriel meet up with Poppy, and Blair takes a pic. Serena confronts Gabriel. He says he hasn't told Poppy about him and Serena because Poppy has all the connections for this internet investment company deal thing, so he's just got to keep her happy for the next week until the deal closes. Dummy Serena's like, oh, perfect. Cool, no stress, but Blair's not buying it, especially after finding out that Gabriel apparently met Serena when Serena was out with Georgina a year ago. He says he met Serena at a bar and Serena was sober, but we know that Serena was roofied by Georgina, so it's very sus. Nate and Chuck start getting a little bit angsty with each other. Nate's like, stop pursuing my girl, and Chuck's like, lol, you don't trust your girlfriend. Nate's also purchased an apartment in the middle of the city between Columbia and NYU, and he wants Blair to move in. If you need to mark your territory so bad, Nathaniel, maybe you should just pee on her. Lily hosts a co-op, which I think is like a rich people thing where they get together and approve neighborhood shit. I don't know. Anyway, she's invited Serena and Gabriel. Blair and Chuck are still suspicious of Gabriel, so they conspire to bring Poppy to the party. She sees Gabriel with Serena and blows up. She's like, you're done. You're over. I'm pulling the investors. 3 IQ Serena is like, wait, why don't you just use this rich people party to get some new investors? So he does. He gets a lot of money because he's spruiking it as this apparent miracle investment that guarantees huge returns, and these people have a lot of money. Even Rufus wants a piece of the investment action. He puts his last dollars in. Through conversation, Chuck hears that Gabriel's saying he met Serena at a bar called Butter the night before the SATs, which we know can't be true because Blair rented out the Butter staff for the Nelly Yuki SAT sabotage party. Remember that? Serena's in Delululand. She's like, maybe that is what happened. I don't know. Chuck knows that the only person who knows who Serena did and did not meet that night is Georgina Sparks, who is now attending some like bad behavior Jesus camp. Nate tells Blair that he wants her to check out the apartment, and Chuck tells Blair that she needs to come with him to find Georgina, and she picks Chuck. They have to sleep in the limo because they're going out to the sticks, but in the morning, Chuck says that he has to talk to Georgina alone. So Blair realizes that Chuck only wanted her to come so that she wouldn't be spending time with Nate. So she steals Chuck's limo, leaving him at Jesus camp. He goes into the camp and finds Georgina, who gives him this big hug. She's like, oh my God, I love Jesus camp. I love my new spiritual lifestyle. But Chuck's not believing it. Georgina confirms that Serena did not meet a Gabriel that night because they never went to Butter. I fucking love Georgina. This is my best friend. I'm so glad that Georgina's back. This is happening at the same time that Serena is testing Gabriel. She's like, oh my God, remember when you met my friend Georgina? She had that fiery red hair, which she doesn't. And he was like, oh my God, yeah. Serena realizes that something's up. She's like, I gotta go. And then later we see Poppy kissing Gabriel, and she's saying how good his acting was during their fake fight at the co-op party. Poppy's on Excel putting investor numbers in. Serena texts Gabriel saying that she's coming back to talk. She gets in the apartment and it's totally empty. And then Poppy appears, apparently also looking for Gabriel, saying that he stole $500,000 from her. Poppy Lifton, more like floppy grifter. Episode 23. Serena tells Chuck and Blair that Armie Hammer has been running a scam. She's about to tell Lily, but then Lily gives her this fuck-off expensive bracelet that was her great-grandmother's, and she's like, ugh, I'm just so proud of the woman you're becoming. Let me look to the side and stare off into the middle distance. Rufus is so happy right now because he thinks that he's about to come into a lot of money via Gabriel, and he's back on the proposed to Lily train. Uh-oh, it's about to get bad for you. Chuck and Georgina take a taxi back into the city. Remember, Blair stole the limo. I'm loving this new spiritual Georgina. Chuck tries to catch her in a lie with this new persona by mentioning things that she did in her past, and she's just like, oh yeah, I prayed overtime for that one. So Serena's debriefing Blair and Nate in her room, and Chuck arrives with Georgina and tells her to stay downstairs. Serena has an idea. Call Gabriel, tell him that she thinks she's pregnant to lure him into meeting her. Serena doesn't want to call the police because she doesn't want Lily knowing what's going on, and she wants to handle it herself. Girl, let's be serious. There's so much money and crime flying around, just call the police. You are not Spencer Hastings. Dan comes into the room like, what's going on? And Blair's like, Serena's fake boyfriend's investment was also fake. Dan's collapsing and tells them that Rufus has invested the last of Dan's college money with Gabriel, which is a low IQ play to start with. But fear not, Dan, because Serena has that plan. Blair's like, yeah, that will work with some act of God. And then boom, Georgina walks in. Everyone starts going off about the Georgina reveal, but then Serena's phone rings. It's Gabriel wanting to meet up. This squadron of Serena, Blair, Nate, Chuck, Dan, and Georgina is like the sequel to the Upper East Side Avengers I mentioned at the end of season 1, but now they're coming after Armie Hammer and Stacey Girl's Japanese single Poppy. It's just all so Esper first mini album Savage track 5. It's iconic. In classic Dan snitch fashion, he tells Lily that Gabriel's a scammer and Serena's trying to handle it on her own. That boy is so obsessed with running his mouth. Lily goes CEO mode and she's like, don't tell Rufus anything about what's going on. I'll take care of it. So now the Avengers need to find Poppy. They need to trap her with someone that Poppy thinks she can manipulate for money. Luckily for them, Georgina has recently rejoined the Avengers and she's available. Blake gives Jesus mode Georgina a makeover and Jesus mode Georgina's like, babes, I left that life of sin behind me. I don't want to do it. But Blair says Georgina has to do it to earn her forgiveness and Georgina's like, okay. Serena goes home and Lily puts her on blast. She's like, don't do anything. You're going to fuck it up further. I'll take care of it. But Serena's like, no, Mom, I have a plan. Poppy turns up at Casa Vanderwoodson to check up on them post-Gabriel scam and she says she's moving to Miami. Remember, she's playing the long con. With Poppy in the Casa, Serena wants Lily to call the police. But Lily's plan is to hide the whole scandal by paying off the scammed investors herself with her huge wealth, let Poppy disappear to Miami, all of this so that Serena's reputation doesn't go down the shitter. Another part of her plan is to not tell Rufus anything about what happened and pay out dividends on his investment as if it all went through smoothly. Serena decides that actually Mother doesn't know best and she greenlights the Georgina plan. Poppy meets with Georgina's fake identity Sherilyn Phillips, who's like a rich oil daughter or something. Their plan is to put a recorder into Sherilyn's bag, record Poppy saying shit, and then use that to blackmail her into giving the money back. Meanwhile, Dan's calling Serena and Lily trying to work out what's happening. He calls Serena first, but she's like, I gotta go. But in the background, he hears Blair say Russian tea room. So when he calls Lily, he's like, why is Serena going to the Russian tea room? Lily calls Serena to call off her attack on Poppy, but Serena won't listen. So Lily calls the police to go to the Russian tea room. Georgina's talking her shit to Poppy and Poppy starts scamming. And she's like, wire transfer won't work. I need cash right now. So Georgina's like, ugh, okay, here's all my cash. The police arrive at the Russian tea room, but they're not there to arrest Poppy. They arrest Serena. In all the commotion, Poppy sneaks out with Georgina's cash, which turns out to be Jesus Camp money for buying Bibles. That's so Bible. At the police station, S is like, you've got the wrong girl. Poppy Lifton is a scammer. But they're like, no. Lily Vanderwoodson said you stole that bracelet. So Lily called the police on her daughter to get her to stop. That's... Yes, that behavior is questionable, and Rufus did the same thing and I fucking hated it. But because Lily did it, I'm like... I see the vision. It's a totally understandable move as well. Serena's a clown. Meanwhile, Rufus finds out about the secret dividends payout plan and he's fucking fuming. He's like, I can't believe you're going to secretly give me money, which would really benefit me and my son. I can't believe you would do that. He's kind of extremely annoying me. Like, can you just accept help? He's also like, boo, you called the police on your daughter. I'm getting a vision. I'm getting a flashback. Didn't you try to do the exact same shit? Anyway, Rufus gets the ick and he doesn't want to propose anymore. At the police station, Serena is serving face. These mugshot pictures are such a serve. The outfit, the makeup, the expressions, the lighting. Like, she's served. So rich white blonde celebrity mugshot Paris Hilton Nicole Richie call. Georgina calls Blair and she's not in Jesus mode anymore. And she's going to go take care of the Poppy situation because no one else seems to be able to do it. Jesus wouldn't approve.
You can tell Jesus that the bitch is back.
Georgina drained the Mother Lake, built a factory to bottle the Mother Lake water, and drinks 3 per day. That quote, you can tell Jesus the bitch is back, is the origin of that viral TikTok sound. Pop culture education, that's what you come to this channel for. Episode 24 is a flashback episode about Lily and her sister. We love a rogue flashback episode during peak drama. Not only is Valley Girls the penultimate episode of season 2, it was also a backdoor pilot episode of Valley Girls, a possible Gossip Girl spin-off prequel series about Lily going to high school in LA in the 80s. But unfortunately, it didn't end up getting picked up by the network. An international tragedy, because not only would we have got more Lily content, young Lily is played by Brittany Snow of Pitch Perfect fame, and she's a great actress. Since the purpose of the flashbacks are to set up that spin-off, we don't really need to talk about them. All you need to know is that Lily has a sister named Carol, played by Kristen Ritter, who was rebellious and lived in California and was an idol to Lily, whose parents, Cece and Rick Rhodes, weren't very attentive. Rick was like a record label exec. When she gets kicked out of boarding school, Lily goes to live with Carol and meets Keith Vanderwoodson, who's a music video director that Carol slept with. Lily also gets into a bunch of trouble. So the point of all this in the main story is that back in the day, Lily was a loose cannon, getting arrested and all that, and now Serena's doing the same thing. We never find out how it goes from Carol sleeping with Keith Vanderwoodson to Lily marrying William Vanderwoodson. There's also a really random Gwen Stefani cameo. She's singing Stand and Deliver with No Doubt. Side note, here's a fun fact for you. Gwen Stefani's brother was also in No Doubt, and he was also an animator for The Simpsons. Back in present day, Lily goes to the police station to bail Serena out. Serena had already called Cece to bail her out, but has also decided to stay in prison. Blair's just like, what the fuck? Why would you do that, Serena? And Serena's like, well, Lily's logic was that I'm too young to make my own decisions, so I'm making the decision to stay in prison. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the serve that you think it is. Cece's back in town, but Lily wants Cece to leave her life forever. Remember the Rufus secret child reveal drama? It's now the day of prom. Dorota gives Blair a vitamin water. Blair's wearing her dream dress from the prom dream journal she had as a kid. Nate's having a bunch of logistical issues with the flowers, the limo, the hotel, and he thinks that Chuck is responsible. Dan organizes to have Cece finally bail Serena out of prison so that she can go to prom. She gets changed in the car on the way there, prison to prom couture. Dan also apologizes to Serena for snitching to Lily during Poppygate. At prom, the minions are conspiring for Blair to lose prom queen to Nelly Yuki, but Chuck overhears. Blair gets mad at Chuck because she sees him with a bunch of Nelly votes and she thinks that he's rigging the vote against her. Blair wins prom queen and everyone's like, who said that? Who voted for her? And Chuck says, me, about 150 times. That is cute, I will give you that. Turns out he took all the Nelly votes out of the ballot box and ruined the corsage because the dress didn't need it, and cancelled the hotel booking so that he could give Blair and Nate the penthouse so that everything would be perfect for Blair because he knew about her prom dream journal. But in the midst of all this nice stuff, remember who the real enemy is. Blair and Nate are dancing, but Blair is super sad even though she's always dreamed of winning prom queen with Nate by her side, and it's because it feels like something's ending. And she breaks up with Nate because she feels like he'll always be her high school boyfriend. That's sad. It's not fair for me personally. Serena's running her mouth as per usual. She's saying she realized Lily did what she did because she cares, and she's glad she went to jail because it brought her and Dan back together. Lily talks to Rufus and he tells her to forgive Cece for Dead Secret Sungate, and she does. Rufus still has the ick though. Time for episode 25, the season 2 finale, titled The Goodbye Gossip Girl. Great episode, probably my favorite of the season. It's graduation time. Serena's been getting so much more press since her arrest, and Blair is loving getting the occasional paparazzi pic. Sometimes I forget that Serena is famous. Like she's a full-on celebrity. Anyway, S&B are talking, and Blair says that Gossip Girl doesn't report on college, so once Serena graduates, she'll be free from Gossip Girl. Blair also mentions that Serena was Gossip Girl's first blast in 9th grade, which I'll bring up in a second. At graduation, Nate's having a reunion extravaganza. William's there and he's super proud of Nate. Vanessa's also there and Nate apologizes for how things ended between them. He also says that he and Blair are finished and that his internship starts soon. Vanessa's like, thanks for making me take the SATs because I'm going to NYU next year. In other news, because of the lack of funds, the no financial aid thing, and the fact that Rufus won't take money from Lily, Dan is also going to NYU. So that's Dan, Vanessa, and Blair all going to NYU. Will someone please think of the Yale? Speaking of Blair, she wants to tell Chuck that she and Nate are over and she wants to be with Chuck, but she chickens out. Meanwhile, the minions tell Jenny that there's going to be a changing of the guard, and the girlie with the juiciest gossip tonight becomes queen. Everyone goes inside to start the graduation ceremony. Dan's name isn't in the booklet. Good. Can we please talk about this? When I saw this, I genuinely started giggling, like genuinely out loud laughing, because Serena just does anything. Girl, where's your hat? It's like Rena just wanted the tassel without the hassle. There was a TikTok going around a few months ago about how, in addition to Dan's name being left out of the booklet, he also didn't have a graduation gown and cap, and Serena gave him her hat, which is why she only has the tassel. But it doesn't really make sense because the Constance girls have green gowns and hats, and the St. Jude's boys have blue gowns and hats, and Dan's wearing a blue hat. So I'm not buying it, sorry. I'm choosing to believe that she wore the tassel like that because she's Serena van der Woodsen and has never worn a uniform properly in her life. I mean, look at this picture. Does that look like the proper way to wear a tie? So they're chilling, the ceremony's about to start, and then a Gossip Girl blast rips through the audience. She gives the squad all of their own nicknames or diplomas. Nate Archibald, Class Whore. Dan Humphrey, the ultimate insider. Chuck Bass, coward. Blair Waldorf, weakling. And as for Serena van der Woodsen, after today, you are officially irrelevant. Damn! Also, this is E-Blast 925. So does that mean in the 3 years since the first blast about Serena in 9th grade, Gossip Girl has sent out 925 blasts? That is very jobless and hobbyless. In the aftermath of the blast, Serena's rummaging through the rubble. It's very much Katniss at the end of Mockingjay. Serena's like, that's fucking it. Gossip Girl's going down. At the graduation after party, Serena's rallying the troops to take down Gossip Girl. Blair, Chuck, and Nate are down, but Dan's like, I kind of want to move past Gossip Girl now that I've graduated, and he leaves the party with Vanessa, and Serena's just like, alright, well fuck my drag. So SBC and Anne are running the numbers, and they're like, well, Gossip Girl has to be around our age and has to go to our school. And conveniently, almost everyone that fits that description is at the graduation graduation party. So Serena gets Chuck to quiet the room, and then she sends a tip to Gossip Girl to see if someone's phone goes off. And someone's phone does go off. Eric's once-lur boyfriend, Jonathan. Everyone's like, oh my god. But then Jonathan says he got bored over spring break and hacked into Gossip Girl's servers and has access to every email and tip she gets. Once-lur Jonathan hacked Gossip Girl's servers? Be so fucking serious right now. If he got a notification for the test tip that Serena sent, he must get them all the time, so his phone should be fucking buzzing. So he's had access to the tip database, including who sent what, and he just hasn't told anyone? Why are you just in everyone's business like that? He's a little felon. I don't like him. I hate you, Jonathan. I fucking hate you, girl. Nate tells Chuck that he and Blair broke up. At the after party of the after party, drunk Nelly Yuki starts telling Dan that she has a crush on him, but then runs off. I love me some Nelly Yuki. Nelly Yuki stands make some noise again. Yeah. Wow, oh my god, the roof is cracking under the pressure of the screams of the Nelly Yuki fans. Alright, now Vanessa stands, you got another chance, make some noise. Nothing again. Blair turns up to the after party of the after party and immediately starts making a beeline to Chuck. Jenny intercepts and she's like, hey Blairsty, I read a tip about you on Jonathan's hacked Gossip Girl servers. It's about you and Jack Bass and I could use it to win the juiciness war against the minions, but I won't. Blair brushes her off. She's like, whatever, you could never be queen anyway. Blair and Chuck go to a room and start getting steamy. But then Gossip Girl sends a massive blast with all of her biggest secrets on everyone. Dan sleeping with Rachel. Dan being arrested, Chuck sleeping with Vanessa, Nate and Jenny, Blair and Jack. And then Gossip Girl says it's all Serena's fault that she sent it out. It's fucking carnage. Ooh, everyone's mad at each other. My favorite bit is Blair having a go at Dan. She's like, despite you trying not to be like us, you absolutely are. If I was a spectator at this party, bitch, I would have been living when the GG bomb dropped. But also, everyone who's anyone is at the party. So who the fuck sent the blast? Blair's like, Chuck, we've been through so much. I love you. Say it back. But Chuck doesn't want a bar of her post Uncle Jack hookup reveal. Sister Blair, how many times are we going to grovel for Chuck? Serena has another plan. She messages Gossip Girl saying, meet me at the Oak Room in 1 hour or I'll tell everyone who you are. It's weaponized lying. She doesn't know shit. Meanwhile, Blair finds Jenny and says she chooses her for queen. Keep your eye on the prize, Jenny Humphrey. You can't make people love you, but you can make them fear you. Serena and Nate are at the Oak Room waiting for Gossip Girl to show up. And who walks through the door? Dan Humphrey. They're like, whoa, 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 dum, 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 dum. Let's pump it up. Are you Gossip Girl? Dan's like, Gossip Girl? I looped you. Were you waiting for Gossip Girl? When he said that, I was like, what the fuck? So I Googled and apparently Looped, L-O-O-P-T, was like a location sharing service. Dan's like, why are you so bent on finding Gossip Girl? And Serena's like, I don't want to be irrelevant. And Dan's like, you're Serena Vanderwoodson. You'll never be irrelevant. Then everyone turns up because Gossip Girl spoofed Serena's number and texted them all to meet her there. Do not ask me how Gossip Girl managed to do that. And Gigi says that they're all Gossip Girl because she wouldn't exist without them. Oh, that's so beautiful. I think we're all Gossip Girl. She also says that she'll be coming with them to college. Uh-oh. In other news, Rufus and Lily were chatting shit in the poverty loft with some beers, and Rufus proposed to Lily, and she said yes. There's a week time jump, and it looks like Rufus and Jenny have moved into Casa Vanderwoodson. Serena's packing for a Europe trip, and she's talking to Blair, who's still heartbroken over Chuck, and she's seeing Gossip Girl updates of Chuck all around Europe. Blair gives Serena her college present, which is a framed picture of her mugshot to remind her of who she is. That's such a fun present. I kind of want to do something like that for my friends, but unfortunately, none of them have been arrested yet. Dan and Vanessa have coffee at an NYU cafe. Nate turns up saying that he quit his internship and he wants to go backpacking with Vanessa. Vanessa and Nate leave. Dan starts talking to this random guy in the cafe who introduces himself as Scott. We find out that this is secret dead not dead Humphrey Vanderwoodson's stepbrother Scott, and he's scheming. Georgina calls Dan to say that she got his poppy money back and that she's going to NYU as well. And we see her in the NYU dorm offices trying to get allocated with Blair. Blair officially crowns Jenny queen by giving her the diamond encrusted headband, and she calls her a foreign queen because she's from Brooklyn. Serena runs into felon Carter Bazin on the street, and he's like, I've got info on what you were looking for in Santorini. I know where your father is. So she gets in his limo. Looks like she's not going to Europe. The last scene of the season is Chuck waiting for Blair outside her building. Turns out he went to Europe to get her favorite things. Paris for macarons, Germany for stockings. Blair's like, I don't know if I can trust you. You've pulled several stunts. And Chuck says, you can believe me. I love you. 3 words, 8 letters. He finally said it, you guys. He said the 10 little letters on a big sign. Nicki Minaj. That brings us to the end of my Gossip Girl Season 2 recap. How delicious was that meal? Yes, very delicious. The next long form video on my channel will be Lost Season 1 around the end of February, and then Season 3 and 4 of Gossip Girl will drop sort of end of March, start of April. I'm hoping to get an editor, so hopefully that will speed things up a little bit. And I'll also have shorter videos in between the longer ones. Of course, as usual, remember to do the big 3. Like this video, leave me a comment, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you all soon. You know you love me. XOXO. Mike's Mike.